Yo, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Speak Life right here on Gorilla Cross Radio. I'm your host, Quan59, and we have another great show for you today, folks. That was Kels talking in the background, so I'll go ahead and introduce him first. Kowp in the building. What's good?
Yes, sir. What's up, man? You know you always got me muted, so I'm a talker. My bad.
Well, I unmuted you. But we are here live, broadcasting from downtown Las Vegas. I got my man, I Am Light, in the building, too. What's good?
What's up?
That's it?
Just chilling, man. That's all I got.
Listen, man.
I'm chilling. What's good?
No, we're gonna start doing some, like, I don't know, what like a class on how to talk on the mic on the podcast.
Yeah, maybe just.
He's always so nervous.
I'm not.
But he's been on so many times.
But the first time, I'm not nervous. I'm really chilling today.
Okay, cool.
I'm super
chilling.
chill today.
Chilling with a G.
Chilling with a G. Capital G.
Right, capital G. Listen, if you're watching live, please share the live video stream with your people. If you want to send in a track to do music reviews, send it to music@speakliferadio.com. We didn't really get any submissions today, maybe one or two. But my man Kels and PJ are both going to be performing live in the studio.
Yes, sir.
So we'll let everybody rate those performances.
Uh-oh.
So you guys didn't know that, right?
No, we weren't. That's something we weren't prepared.
Somebody who I gave a bad rating
that.
to one of their music is going to be on the show, and they're finna
Exactly.
They're going to be
boo
like
me.
-3.
Right.
Exactly.
Who is this choker?
If you're watching on Facebook, please go over to the YouTube channel, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and like the video. It helps with the algorithm. So let me see how many likes we got so far. We got 2 likes, and there's 4 people in this room.
It's crazy.
Oh.
That's only, yeah.
And that voice you heard in the background is our guest. Oh, I didn't get your name tag up. Hold up. I'm so good at doing all this on the fly. Whose phone is up? She's so nervous.
She's told me to like it.
I know.
All right.
She's never been on live on a podcast, but she's done a lot of podcasts. But we have the owner. You've seen her in the comments the last few weeks of Real Prep, Meal Prep. See, I could do that. We got Sara in the building. What's good?
Hi, I'm Sara.
Are you nervous?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know. Especially when you call me out like that.
Oh, my bad. But she's going to talk to us a little bit about her testimony and what got her into doing Real Prep, Meal Prep. And she's going to analyze us and tell us what we need to do, because you're not out of shape. You're a little bit.
I need to get rid of this.
See, I usually wear black so it covers up my little side handles and gut.
Facts. Black is slimming. That's what they say.
Yeah. But, so we'll be talking to her too in a little bit. But first, we're going to get live on the line. I haven't talked to this dude for a while, man. He went by K. Alico. He had signed to God Over Money. I think he had signed that day or a couple days before when I talked to him last. And he is here with us live on the line today with a new name. He goes by T-Strike. What's good?
What's happening?
Chilling, man. What's up with the name change? T-Strike. What's that even mean?
Man, it's a long story, but I guess this is the right place for it.
Yes, sir. Don't take too long though, man.
I was a part of it was this college campus Christian ministry in Savannah, Georgia, called C2L, Commission to Love. And when I first gave my life to Christ, I went there, and they had like these classes every so often called the Process of Purity for the new converts. And so at the end of the class, at the end of the 3 weeks to a month, they give everybody a spiritual name. So the dudes is Sir whatever, and then the women is Lady whatever. So they gave me Sir T-Strike. Well, it was Sir Thunderstrike. And it came from the verse of scripture when the Philistines was chasing the Israelites down to kill them or whatnot, and God thundered, thunder and lightning hit, and it scared them or whatever. And they basically were saying like God is gonna use me in a powerful way to be a light in a dark place, and to be a trumpet for the Lord. And so they just started calling me T-Strike for short. And when I didn't know that I could do gospel rap when I first gave my life to Christ, and after I figured out that I could, that just was the name that stuck.
All right. But you had another name before. So did you go back to T-Strike?
So no, it was T-Strike. Then it was it was King Alico, but
King
then
Alico.
when I changed it to King Alico, but when I got with Biz, he was like, let's just do K Alico for short. So
He didn't want
that's
you to
how
be
we
a
got
king.
into the K Alico, and then after I stepped down from GOM, I just went back to King Alico. So yeah, it's been a whole lot of.
All right. So let's talk about that, man. Last time we talked, you just signed it to GOM, but you weren't really there that long. You want to explain what happened with that whole situation, and yeah, just tell us what happened with that situation.
So yeah, I pretty much it was short lived, basically because I felt like God had told me to step down from the situation, which it didn't make sense to me either. You know what I'm saying?
But for him to tell you to step down so quick, was it not him telling you to step up in the first place?
A part of me feel like that.
Yeah.
Because it was like, me and wife, we was in a, tough financial situation, which wasn't holistically why I did it, but it was a big part. But so like I had a lot of labels that had hit me up prior to this, and basically God had me turn them all down.
Yeah.
A bunch of CHH labels, and one label that was kind of like they had a Christian compartment, Capital. But God had me turn it all down, and I don't know, I just got tired of saying no.
Yeah.
I just got tired of saying no and looking at me and my wife's financial situation and stuff like that. And when Biz came along, I'm just like, man, shoot, like, I'm like, what is it gonna hurt? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a gospel label. I'm doing gospel music, and so I just jumped on, bro.
Yeah. So doing that, how long were you actually with God Over Money before you decided you weren't supposed to be there and it was time to step down?
Like 3 months.
Yeah.
It was short lived, but it was a lot that happened in those 3 months. You know what I'm saying? So.
What was the determining factor of actually leaving? Like you say God told you, but what was that he told you exactly? What was it? Something that happened? Was it something in your life where you didn't feel like you could be on a label like that? What was it?
Nah, it wasn't nothing that happened. I just had one on a fast. I had one on a 3-day fast, and in the process of that, like the I think it was the last day of the fast or either the day after the fast. Like I was in the kitchen washing dishes, and I heard the Holy Spirit just tell me like, "Hey, you got to step down." You know what I'm saying? You got to step down from that.
And a
Like,
fast will tell you a lot.
Man,
Like it's scary to fast sometimes because of everything that comes out or everything God tells you to give up, or which is for your own good. Like once you give it up, you realize why God told you to give up. You guys ever dealt with that?
absolutely. I was just thinking that as soon as he said that, I was like, man, them fast. So it's funny. My mom is a big faster, and she just used to be like, hey, if we come together on this, let's make stuff happen. So it would be like topics on your regular mind, just like okay, man, I feel like somebody's gonna betray me, I'm gonna fast about it, just let me know. And then next thing you know, closest friends out of the picture, so absolutely. I feel like you said, man, fasting brings you out on the other side and you feel different. You see, you look around you, it looks different. And then you spiritually got to check yourself and just kind of be on a different mission after that.
But you realize also there's a weight lifted off your shoulders.
Absolutely.
When you go through it, because sometimes we don't realize the weight we're carrying.
Yeah.
Until we do give that all to God. PJ, you ever dealt with that?
Yeah. I would say fasting is more like a detox of your flesh. You know what I'm saying? It might like heighten things that you have to get rid of, or it makes you stronger and closer to God so you can hear his voice, because we have a lot going on in our life throughout the day. You got Instagram, you got all this stuff down. So when you're fast, it's like purification, and that's your time to like really focus in and hone into God. And then it seems like when all of the traffic is out your ears and stuff like that and all the sounds are down, you can hear his voice more calmly, giving you better direction. So I would see how, that would lead you to make certain decisions like, oh man, I don't need to do this anymore. Because sometimes before a fast, everything feels good. It's like, right, I'm just doing this because I want to do it, and I feel like I'm pushing this because I need to push this. But when you get to that point where it's God, then I feel like he directs you where you need to go because all the noise is gone and the focus is him.
All right, King T Strike Alico, are you a regular faster? Is that something you do on a regular basis, once a year, every 3 months? Like, what's that like for you? Because I want to get into fasting a little bit, because it's something I struggle with because of what we talked about. Like sometimes the attacks you face when you fast,
Yeah.
you know, it gets scary. So it's like, I don't want to fast because I know like what has come with that in the past. So what's that like with you on a regular basis?
I mean, I like to think that I was fasting back in the days, but if you ain't really praying and really seeking God for real and getting into your word and stuff like that, you really just on a diet. You know what I'm saying?
That's good.
And so
Right.
I know last year I did the Daniel fast with some of my brothers from KMF, Pastor Fred and a couple of other guys, and the 21-day Daniel fast. I ain't gonna lie, that mother hit different.
Yeah.
And so this year I did it again because it blessed me so much. And now I was just telling me and my wife, I'm actually looking to start fasting at least 1 week out of each month because of what God is doing and where he is taking me and stuff right now. I just know I gotta be like the other brother was saying, you know, the attacks and stuff that come with that. You gotta be prepared too, you know, for different things. You know what I'm saying? When God is getting ready to take you into certain territories and stuff like that, because you know it's bigger than the music. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm looking to start doing once a month at least.
Dope, man. Now, talking about bigger than the music, you know, you make music. You're a hip hop artist. You've been doing it for a long time now. Did you fall off after GOM? Did you fall off a little bit? Like I feel like just kind of watching you and seeing some things. Had you fallen off your walk with God? Oh
yeah, definitely with the walk with God for sure. I stepped down. I started back doing what God told me to do, which was, you know, live loud, continue to do that. But coming from that level of success, you know what I'm saying, doing a video with Steph Curry and just having so much success in that short period of time and having to come back down to ground zero, I was on board, but then it was like nothing wasn't really happening. So after a while, I was like, man, God, you tripping, you taking too long. And God making me step down to it really showed me a lot of stuff that was still in my heart that I didn't know that was there.
Trying to humble you a little bit, huh?
I'm thankful that God took me from out of that spotlight and allowed me to go through the things that I went through on a level to where, you know, some people saw it or whatever, but it could have been way worse. It could have been way worse, and it could have affected more people than it did. You know what I'm saying? So it was purposeful. Like even now, when I look at the situation now, I understand exactly why God told me to step down. And I just really got that clarity the end of last year. God finally gave me the clarity. Like I said, once I'm looking back at my life and seeing how left field I went, my heart really was. I'm telling my mouth was saying one thing, but my heart was in another place. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I went left big, bro. I went left big, like big.
What was that like though? I mean, and how long of a period was that you know, because obviously like when God takes things away, sometimes we do go through that depression when we think we're headed in a certain direction. And obviously like every rapper's goal is to get signed, right? So you end up getting signed, then you leave. Other deals aren't coming your way the way you thought. You know, just talk about that a little bit more.
So I go left field. You know, my mind frame basically was like, all right, God, you know, you told me to step down. You told me you was gonna bless me, this, that, and the third. Obviously, you ain't moving quick enough, so I know what to do. You know what I'm saying? I look at myself. I was like, hey, I'm doper than a lot of these artists that's in the mainstream. I'm doper than a lot of what I'm hearing on the radio. So let me go do my thing, and when me and my family get financially situated or whatever, then I'll be back. Then I'll come back and do what you want me to do. So
you're giving God, you're giving God ultimatums.
Pretty much.
Woo, brave man.
It's like so, I end up winning competitions. When got flew out to Def Jam, had a meeting with them, all kind of stuff. Everything was going good, but God just would never let everything go all the way through. It's like it was several times where I would get right at the door and God just would close it in my face, bro. Just slam it in my face every time. And so like from there, you know, I had a OnlyFans, bro. I was doing porn. I was
what?
wilding, bro.
So you went from Christian hip hop to OnlyFans.
Yeah, it was crazy, bro. It
Wow.
was crazy. I
So
almost lost my wife. You know what I'm saying?
how long were you in this situation?
Say about a year and a half, maybe 2,
So how long you been back?
but 3.
3 years?
I've been solid with the Lord for like 3. I've been in discipleship with Pastor Fred Mendez from KML. You know,
Okay.
locked in with Brother Brian. Them, you know, got that solid fellowship. You know what I'm saying? Getting structure back in my life how I should have had that I didn't have for the longest.
And I was just gonna say that, was that something you were missing before, that structure and that accountability and leadership?
Definitely, for sure.
Bro, and so with that lack of accountability, you fell way off. Like that was more than I knew. I didn't really know much what that was going on with you with that. Like, I didn't know you had OnlyFans and doing all that. But it's so important, man. And that's funny because that's one of the things we've been talking about this month is accountability in Christian hip hop, and the fact that it's been lacking a lot. And the fact that it's been lacking so much, I think we've seen the fruit of where Christian hip hop is because of that. Like, we see people like Kingdom Music and Brian, what Brian's doing there, and they seem to be thriving and doing like really good things for the kingdom. And then you got a lot of these other artists that I'm not going to like throw out their name, but they're just making music and you feel nothing. Even though they're talking about God, you really don't feel anything in the music. You're not feeling the spirit in the music. How long did you sit down from doing music when you came back to God before you started jumping right back in?
It was almost about a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, you guys got any?
Yeah, man. First thing that came to mind, I just had a question. So when you was going through, your phase, like you said, you went left, you had all these opportunities, you was at the door at a lot of them. Like, what was it that made you jump back over and say, okay, this wasn't for me? Was it conviction? Was it, just your past relationship, so you knew better? I'm just curious, man, because that's tough, man. I feel like at every step you was like, man, I'm got a little bit of money coming my way, or I might get this opportunity, or, even, man, like, we can't knock that. The OnlyFans got money in it too, so anything that you was doing, you sitting here like, man, like this is it for me. And then what pulled you away to make you just kind of focus back in on God?
Just think about my kids, man. My boys was like one of the main factors, and and being tired, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying, going back from something that God had basically a lot of stuff God had delivered me from. Yeah. And a lot of times when we think deliverance, we think that, you just done cold turkey. Like, God could deliver you from something, but you got to do the due diligence to make sure that you stay in a place and that you withstand and make sure that you cut the enemy out. You don't give him no access to be pulling you back in those same situations. So for me, it was just like looking at my life, think about my kids, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't want my kids watching porn videos of me. I don't want my kids listening to the type of music that I'm making, like, because I'm conscious of what music does, you know what I'm saying? I'm conscious of how music affects people. So, I'm just all of this stuff going through my head, and then like I say too, just being tired, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Being at the bottom of the bottom, feeling like, you know what I'm saying, just low. People thinking that you're happy, but you really ain't happy for real. Like, you know what I'm saying? The Holy Spirit still dealing with me even throughout these situations. I'm having sex with chicks and then end up ministering to them after the fact, talking about God. It's like I couldn't get away from it, bro. Wow. No matter what I did, I'm high on drugs. I'm in the studio with people and I'm talking about God. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I just couldn't get away from it.
So what are you doing now to make sure you don't fall back into that, in the future? Because it happened before, right? So what are you doing now? Like, obviously surrounding yourself with more accountability. What's that look like?
Monday night Bible study, Tuesday night Bible study, Wednesday night Bible study. I'm teaching Bible study on Thursday. Just plugged in with the right people. Like, for the longest in CHH, I was a loner. Like, I ain't like being around people because of my struggles. So I would isolate myself, you know what I'm saying? And of course the enemy, he took advantage of that. You know what I'm saying? As long as I'm isolated and nobody know what's going on, it's like, I'm gonna keep on running. I'm gonna keep running you in the ground. You know what I'm saying? And So for me, it was a huge step when I joined the discipleship and linked up with Pastor Fred, and I'm like, these people really hold me accountable. Like, they do life with me. They in Texas, but they do life with me as if they was here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Brother Fred, he called me not just only for Bible study and stuff. He called me. He checked up on me. He made sure my fam good. Like, my wife can call and talk to him. It's just, it's a lot. You know, even with my wife as well. Just being to a place to where, you know, she can check. She logged into all of my social media accounts. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, you just gotta go that extra mile. If you really want to be kept, bro, you will do what it takes to be kept.
Yeah,
simply put.
I agree.
If you don't want to be kept, you're gonna keep them certain doors open. You're gonna have them placeholders in your heart. And them placeholders is because you could be. It was a point where I was doing pretty good. You know what I'm saying? And wasn't even on no negative type time, but I still had placeholders. It still was things that it's like, okay, if something do happen, then I'll be able to move like this and do this, and wifey won't know.
Yeah.
But like now, she got my location on my phone, and definitely anywhere I'm at, she know where I'm at. I gotta have my phone with me. You feel me? Because we in the city and we don't really know a lot of people here like that. Too tough outside of our church family. But it's just like, it's certain things that I didn't do for the first, you know, over half of my marriage, bro, and my walk with God, that I'm just like, I'm done. Like, I'm tired of falling. I'm tired of being the mess up kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, God, I really want to live for you for real. Like, beyond just making Christian music. Like, cause when I was doing all the other stuff before, like I used to be hiding in the mud, bro.
Wow.
Like, every day making Christian hip hop music in the studio by myself. Nobody know. I'm hiding in the mud. I feel like I can't do nothing without being high.
See,
I probably was high before we did that last interview.
And see, that's a problem that I have with Christian hip hop, because I've been around it so long. I've been around it for 30 plus years. Just watching people now with no accountability, no leadership, no mentorship, no crew around them to be close to them, to be able to keep them accountable and to check them. I think it's in a dangerous place, because just like you were doing that, there's a lot of other artists doing that right now. There's some probably watching this live stream right now that are doing the same thing, like making the music but living however they want to live. And I think we've all got
that. Ain't it.
You can't do that. So listen, man, like we've talked about it before. We're going to talk about it later on the show too, and in the rest of the month. But I mean, the rest of the time on Speak Life, really. But have accountability. Have people around you, because this walk is not easy. It's very easy to get, caught up in the ways of the world and all that. But you have to have accountability. You have to have people around you. And then it's not up to them to always keep you accountable. You need to be accountable to yourself and be obedient to God and what he's given you, what he's told you to do. Because sometimes we also lean on that too. Like, well, I wasn't going to church. Or it's like, dude, you need to be in that word daily yourself. Yeah. If someone's keeping you accountable or not. Because God's always keeping you accountable.
Yeah, I think the worst thing you could do is battle alone. Like, that's the worst. You need accountability, because, even on your best days, your best week, you feel like you got it together. You know what I'm saying? But you need to have somebody to like push you back in the ring when you do have those days, because you're not always going to have perfect days. You know what I mean? Do you have like a tight circle, like people you can talk to? Like,
for sure.
That's dope. Yeah.
But with all this happening, you're doing OnlyFans and stuff like that. Did you have to move like cities, or are you still in the same spot and you just had to kind of tone down who you were hanging out with?
I went back to Georgia. That was the worst thing I could have did. I went back to Georgia. I almost died in a house fire. Everything, bro. Like, when I tell you, bro, it was the worst.
It sounds like it, bro. It sounds like you was going through it, man.
Bro, it was, when I tell you, like, me and my sister almost died in a house fire, bro. Like, she was pregnant. I woke up. One of my homeboys called me. That's what woke me up. My homeboy called me on FaceTime. And just out of nowhere, randomly, he didn't even know why he called me. He was just like, and me and him wasn't even talking on a consistent basis like that. But it was God. Oh, that's God. He called me, so I'm talking to him about like 2-3 minutes in the conversation. I'm laying in the living room, but from the living room you could see the kitchen. You walk straight from the living room to the kitchen, but everything is around the corner. Like the oven, the refrigerator, and everything is, you have to go into the kitchen and then make a left. But from what I could see in the kitchen, I see these colors on the wall. Like I see like an orange glare, like, you know what I'm saying? I keep seeing this flare, then I start smelling something. I'm like, you know, I asked my sister, I say, sis. She was like, yeah, bro. I say, you left something on the stove. So she done came to heat up some grease to fry some chicken nuggets in a big old like crab ball pot. And she pregnant with my niece at the time. She falls asleep. By the time we get up and go in the kitchen, the whole stove and the pot is consumed. It ain't nothing we could do. We had to get out of there, bro. I lost all of my studio equipment.
Oh, wow.
Everything. Like, when I tell you I lost everything, man, listen, it was bad, bro. I wasn't never supposed to go there anyway. Sometimes you just, you know better, bro, but you just, you know, you following the desires of your flesh, bro, and it's gonna take you down the road you don't want to go.
But obviously God has a calling on your life, because he's shown you things. He's pulled you out and shown you where not to go so many times, man. So a lot of people don't get that opportunity. So you got to thank God that he brought you out of that and kept you alive and safe, from that. But listen, man, if you guys are watching live, please in the comments, let us know where you're watching from. And if you haven't shared, please share the live video stream and like the video. It helps with the algorithm, helps with everything we're doing here at Gorilla Cross. My man Joe Saif couldn't be here tonight. He said, I love the fact that T Strike's testimony is basically the prodigal son's passage in real time. That's real.
Yeah,
For real.
And man, and I'm gonna keep you in prayer, man, that you don't ever fall back, because it's just not worth it. Especially the times we're living in right now, man. It's we're living in crazy times, so we have to, be on point. I want to get into this song video, Soul Cry. Talk to us about this video real quick.
Man, Soul Cry, it was off a project that I released last year called Views from the Valley. You know what I'm saying? Kind of going through a tough time and just being able to see God, even, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people only want to be happy and praise God and give God glory when they feel like everything is going good. But, God pretty much just helped me to see him even in my valley experience, you know what I'm saying? And to praise him as if I was on the mountaintop. And so Soul Cry is pretty much just a testament of the things that God brought me through. You know what I mean?
All right, so we're going to get into this song right now, Soul Cry, right here on Speak Life.
I remember times like this when I had to cry sometimes. I remember times like this when I nearly lost my mind. I remember times like this when I thought about crossing the line. But I remember times like this, God came through for me every single time, I'm talking about every single time. I remember being at the bottom. I remember screaming out, I got him, I do. I remember they ain't wanna bless me. They ain't wanna bless me like I never ever said I choose. I remember I was living holy, but that was from the holes in my pocket. If I could, then I would let you hold some, but it was gone as soon as I got it. I was suffering from drugs and addiction. I had no way that I could run from affliction. I was in too deep, thought that I was on go, but I ain't even had no key in my ignition. Came to the fork in the road like it's do or die. I remember fight thoughts of suicide. Voices in my head screaming, do it now. Lord, I thank you. I remember times like this when I had to cry sometimes. I remember times like this when I nearly lost my mind. I remember times like this when I thought about crossing the line. But I remember times like this, God came through for me every single time, I'm talking about every single time. Listen to my soul cry, till my soul cry out. You can hear my soul cry, hear my soul cry out. Listen to my soul cry, till my soul cry out. You get to hear my soul cry out. I remember thugging in the ghetto. thought that I could let go. A product of my environment, but something inside of me, deep down in my heart, wouldn't let me settle. My mama always said that it was more to me, but it was hard to listen, it was boring me. It was hard to focus, mama, what you talking about? We gotta make it out this hood, cause we poor to me. We was less fortunate, thank God for my mama, without her probably would've been in an orphanage. Remember times were so bad, I used to argue with God just cause I ain't had nobody else that I could argue with. Can't take the fork in the road like it's do or die. Devil, you can't have my soul, oh no, you's a lie. God told me surrender and do it now. Lord, I thank you. I remember times like this, when I had to cry sometimes. I remember times like this, when I nearly lost my mind. I remember times like this, when I thought about crossing the line. But I remember times like this, God came through for me every single time, I'm talking about every single time. Listen to my soul cry, to my soul cry out. You can hear my soul cry, hear my soul cry out. Listen to my soul cry, to my soul cry out. You get to hear my soul cry out.
Yeah, that is T-Strike with Soul Cry, and we are live with him right now, live on the line. From where you tuned in from right now?
I'm in the Orlando area. I'm in Sanford, Florida, right here by Orlando.
Okay, nice. How long you been out there?
I've been in Sanford since 2016 or 17.
Yeah, all right. We have a lot of comments on the video. Big up to using every room in the house. We got some fire emojis, which they don't show up. Ricky Small said knocking. LOL with Kiki Simone said, Lord, I thank you. Fire, a lot of fire, a lot of fire. Sassy France LLC from Valdosta, Georgia. Florida boy from Florida. Gentle Giant for Christ from Florida. Yeah. We thank everyone for tuning in. Awesome shout out from Orlando. But man, that's a dope song right there, man. That's kind of like the whole testimony that we talked about. You shot that yourself?
Nah, I had somebody else do it for me.
Okay. But you just use every room in the house. That was pretty funny.
Oh yeah.
What you guys think about that song?
I think it was dope. I liked it.
I thought
Hey,
it
y'all
was really good.
Keep it real now, y'all.
No, that's 100. I was keeping it 100. That was dope.
Sarah, what do you think?
I thought it was really authentic and very true. There was a lot that most people can relate to about falling or slipping or going down the wrong path, or even talking about his childhood, his relationship with his mother, taking care of him and having a hard upbringing. As far as, the orphanage part, I really related to that because I am adopted. So that part called out to me very strongly. I thought it was a really good song, and I'm going to look it up after this and add it to my iTunes.
Yeah.
So.
Hey.
I'm supposed to be the harsh critic, but nah, not at all. That was dope, bro. Super good vibes. I didn't know that, like that was the flow. So it was super tight, easy to knock your head to and ride to. And then it's crazy to hear your testimony and then hear it in a song. It kind of just like, it was relatable. It was
I think that made the songs a lot better hearing it first and then being able to hear the song.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like hearing from you,
Makes
hearing
more
what
sense.
you're going through.
Yeah.
Exactly. How you pulled yourself out of it. And then, have you on a song talking about those exact situations and how, God kept pulling you and calling you. So it was dope, man, across the board. Yeah, for sure.
So where you at now with the music? I know you said you've been, doing stuff with Kingdom Music. Is that something that you're trying to link up with them a lot more and actually be a part of Kingdom Music?
That KMF, that's my fam for sure. I think I'm just on my journey right now. I'm just doing the things that God has placed on me. So musically, I got a lot of stuff in store. Which I actually start dropping a lot of the stuff that God been having me to work on next month, the beginning of next month. But I'm not really at a place where I'm really just trying to connect or be a part of nobody else's team or label per se.
Yeah.
Um, at one point I was, but I feel like God, I'm just trying to make sure I do and stay in the lane that God got for me to be in. It ain't about, the accolades and all of that stuff no more. You know what I'm saying? I just want to share the gospel through my life, my testimony, and, be able to help somebody else. And whatever that might look like, whatever God chooses to do with that, then, at this point in my life, I'm okay with it. I haven't always been there, but at this point in my life, I'm okay with it. You know what I'm saying? So, but KMF, like I say, that's my fam. I still rock with GOM. Me and Biz, we still talk. Biz, kind of schooled me on some of the social media promotion and how to do certain things like that. So, I still got them folks in my corner. You know what I'm saying? They still family for sure.
Now, were they around
when they gonna be here? Anything I need, like they gonna be here for.
Were they around when you were going through all that?
Say that again?
Were they around when you were going through all that and fell away?
I disconnected myself from everybody.
Yeah.
I unfollowed them. KMF, Brian, I told Brian this. They laugh about this to this day, but when I started going left, I unfollowed everything Kingdom Music because his music is so convicting, bro. I ain't want to see none of that stuff on my timeline, bro. Like, that's how bad of a position I was in, like, spiritually. I didn't even want to I didn't want to see it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't want to see it because of the way God used him, and he's gospel centered. Like, he's kingdom, you know what I'm saying? Like, he ain't for all the accolades and none of that stuff either. Like,
he's gonna tell the truth through his music and not sugarcoat and do what a lot of Christian rappers do, unfortunately. Because we've talked about it before. I think a lot of people are doing music just because it's an easy place to get a platform, and a church will open its doors to anyone that's doing something for God, and I think that's a bad thing too. I think churches need to be a little more concerned of who they're letting in, their building and everything. But man, I'm glad you are where you're at now, man, because I did see some of the struggles you were going through. So it is good to see that you're back and that you're, definitely seem a lot more focused on God, and keep that up, man. Don't let the music get to you. There's a lot of rappers out there, man. There's not a lot of people really out there speaking the truth. So let God use you 100% to your full potential of what he's trying to do through you. But yeah, man, just stay encouraged in that for real.
Yes, sir.
You guys have any more questions?
That's a good word, Quan.
Hey,
Yeah.
Solid. No questions, man, but it was a pleasure talking to you. I'm definitely going to dive into your music. You got, people tapping in with you, talking about how you've been dope. So I'm going to dive into your music for sure. And it was just nice, man, hearing somebody being real genuine, real authentic, talking about the things that they went through. We often, hide the stuff that we struggle with just because we're ashamed. And in those situations, God don't get glory. So, man, I appreciate you being transparent for sure.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And real quick, how hard was it for you to start being transparent and letting the world know what you went through and what you were dealing with? Because you easily could have just, been like, I fell off, but I'm back. How long did that take where you were able to actually be truthful and honest to give that testimony? Because, there's a lot of people probably going through the same type of things.
I always pretty much been, my whole life, I've been, that person is just like, hey, I'm gonna keep it real. And so that's been me from day one, you know what I'm saying? I kept it real in a lot of my music, but people probably just thought, oh, it's just music. You know what I'm saying? It's just something for him to encourage somebody. But I've been like keeping it 100. When I was on GOM, when I dropped the Lord, I need you some more. Like, that's where I was at. You know what I'm saying? I was struggling. I said in there, I ain't been to church in a long time. So I always been transparent, but in terms of just speaking about it, I always did that too, but just like on personal levels when God might, send somebody my way and, God be like, lead me to tell somebody that I was dealing with certain things or whatever to encourage them or to let them know that they ain't by themselves. I've always been like that, but just at this point, I'm an open book at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Any last words, PJ?
I would say, man, I have to go back to, what you were saying is like, thanks for being authentic. It's hard to be authentic for certain people, but you being authentic helps other people who may be battling with the same things, showing them hope that you can come out, and especially I just feel like if you carry the spirit of God, there's no way you can sit in certain things for too long. You may be able to sit in them temporarily.
Yeah.
But when you belong to God, can no one pluck you out of his hands? Can nothing pluck you out of his hands? You belong to him. So I just commend you for that.
Appreciate it, fam.
Good, man. We got a lot of people in the comments. Do yourself a favor and get all of his music and storytelling and melodies are like none other. So, shout out to everyone in the comments. We're going to let you go on that note. Let everybody know where they could catch you. If you have any shows coming up, let them know where that's coming this month. And just let them know where they can find you on social media. And then we're going to get into the song, Put a Date on It.
So all social media platforms is T-Strike229. That's TSTRIKE 229, the numbers. And pretty much that's everything that you need to know pretty much on those platforms. And I have a event coming up with City Takers Southwest Florida with G Rain and Scott Free on July the 27th in Fort Myers. So if you're in the Fort Myers area or you can get there, you anywhere close around, it's definitely gonna be a dope event. We're gonna have Uncle Reese gonna be there, K-Joe gonna be there, John Gabbana gonna be there, J-Bez, it's gonna be a lot of us there, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a dope event for sure. Definitely mission minded, you know what I'm saying, event. And also this is a exclusive, we ain't even really put it out there yet, but me and my wife planning to do a event on July the 20th here in Orlando called the Live Loud Experience. Which will have my brother Plain James and my brother D Black and my sister Jill from Miami will be on. So that's gonna be it's gonna be different. It's gonna be an experience, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be an experience to remember, man. So if you lock in with my social medias or whatever, you know what I'm saying, hit us up. We'll be having the information and the flyers and all of that stuff up soon. So y'all stay tuned for that as well.
Oh man, you mentioned Plain James and D Black, man. Those are my people.
Them my brothers. You hear me? Like, now Plain James, he was the only person that I allowed to be connected to me when I was going through everything I was going through, and he didn't pacify me in it. He kept it 100 with me, but he still was there to love on me through everything. Like I cried to this dude like several times, you know what I'm saying? And you know, bro was just always there for me, you know, just like, bro, you know what you gotta do, like, you know what I'm saying? You saying you want to stop, but you ain't stopping, like, you really don't want to stop. You know you need to stop, but you don't want to. So need and want is two different things. But yeah, that's it. James, that's my dude, though.
That's good, man. He can't rap very well, but he's a good dude.
That's crazy.
I'm joking. I like Plain James. That's the homie.
I think James pretty dope, man. If you ask me,
he's dope. He's dope. Man. Trap theology.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, man, tell us about this song, Put a Date on It, and then we will let you go. And if you guys are watching in the comments, I know a lot of you are here for T-Strike. Stick with us. Stay on with us. Sarah's going to be giving her testimony, too. So I feel like it's Testimony Tuesday. So we're going to make Kels give his testimony again. No, he did 2 weeks ago. But let us know about this song.
Put a date on it, man. It's just a declaration to the enemy. You know what I'm saying? That all of that extraness is over with, you know what I'm saying? Just like I was telling y'all earlier, like dead bolting the doors, you know what I'm saying? Not leaving no cracks or crevices for the enemy to get in to try to lure me back into my past life, and standing on, they say standing on business, I say standing on holiness, you know what I'm saying? Standing on holiness, let them know what time it is spiritually. That's pretty much it.
That's good, man. Standing on business, I hate that term so much. I hate terms that catch on and everyone's saying it. It's like, bro, it wasn't even that cool.
Yeah.
It was not that cool. But all right, man, we appreciate you getting on with us, bro. We're definitely going to have to do this again sometime. And if you're ever on the West Coast, man, come to Vegas, come out here and get in the studio with us.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the invite, man. And as soon as I come out there, you know, get an invite to come out there, do something out there, you know, I'm going to hit you up for sure.
Yes, sir. That's T-Strike. Make sure you follow him, T-Strike229 on all social media. We appreciate you, bro. This is Put a Date on It right now. Speak Life.
Yes, sir.
I already know what it is. I already know. I already know what it is. Ay, ay. You hear that? Ay, ay. limo. What you know about walking under pressure? In the spirit realm, I had to do the limbo. Somebody tell the devil he can never get rid of me. That is not a punchline, I mean that literally. Everything my God is all that he pretend to be. Spoiler alert, fool you the liturgy. See the guy that I serve be the big one. I don't never stress like a TV show or sitcom. On the front line of the wall, but I ain't even stressing, cause I know it's been warm. Somebody say the devil say he gon' do what? Tell him put a date on it. I heard somebody say he gon' fall off. Tell him just wait on it. Please don't get it twisted, I ain't one of them. Please don't mistake, homie. Yeah, I fall short like David did, but just like David, I stay on it. Somebody say the devil say he gon' do what? Tell him put a date on it. I heard somebody say he gon' fall off. Tell him just wait on it. Please don't get it twisted, I ain't one of them. Please don't mistake, homie. Yeah, I fall short like David did, but just like David, I stay on it. Now I ain't finna this verse too. Walking in the power of the Lord, that virtue. Devil upset cause he running out of time. God got that boy on curfew. Who that say they won't smoke? Who that say they won't smoke? Maybe have to call them guys. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Treat that boy like more free. Have him scared to come outside. Devil tried to take some. Devil tried to take some, but he got caught on the turf. Flavor game, favor game. You know I had to shake some, cause we the salt of the earth. He a liar, he a cheater, he be thieving. He tried to run off on the plumber, he got caught when he would leave. He know God prepare the table, cause everybody wanna play. And he know it's my season. The neck of my wife got my chain on it. Never been jealous, got a blessing with my name on it. Everybody eat, put the gang on it. Blood all on me, but my soul got no stain on it. On the SpongeBob, but it crushed the crowd. Platinum, you'll never get the recipe. Sorry, say, now I already gave that to God, so you will never get the best. Somebody say the devil say he gon' do what? Tell him put a date on it.
T-Strike, not guilty.
This is Soup the Chemist, live and direct. You're listening to Gorilla Cross Radio.
Yeah, that was T-Strike. Put a date on that. He's dope.
Yeah, that
he's
was
dope.
tight.
He's really dope.
That was tight.
Sarah, what'd you
Yeah.
think about that?
I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it a lot.
She's been downloading a lot of the music that's been playing on the show, so I appreciate her. Like, a lot of people will listen, but they're not really listening to the lyrics. Like, she pays attention, like, even more than me, like, to the lyrics and everything. So
Yeah,
More
I've been
than you?
downloading them all.
more than me.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk, Sarah. Welcome to the studio. I know you're a little nervous. We're doing this live. How you feeling?
Feeling okay.
You don't look nervous.
Feeling good. I think T-Strike was a good warm-up.
Yeah.
You know, kind of
sure.
put me at comfort a little bit.
Yeah. So you are the owner of Real Prep Meal Prep. It's a food prep company. Tell us about that a little bit and how you got into that.
So it's just a gimmick-free meal prep company. I started off with my journey as a personal trainer and a nutrition coach, and then COVID shut down the gyms and I started feeding my clients, and it really just took off from there. I didn't expect it to, but I started really pursuing it, and now I've been open for 2.5 years in business, and I specialize with body transformations, weight loss, muscle gain, working with multiple doctors, nutritionists. So because it is gimmick-free, no dairy, no sugar, no flour, no gluten, I can cover a lot of different areas, a lot of different diet types, different people that are having the surgeries to help them lose weight or on medications to lose weight. So I can really accommodate a lot of the different nutrition plans that are out there.
How'd you learn all this? Because you were talking to me about like the whole, like the portion sizes and the amounts you do, and just like the types of food you need to eat clean. It's confusing to me. Like, I would never know where to start.
It's very confusing, especially if you're using the internet to try to help you. I started off with just working on my own self and losing 60 pounds at first and doing my own transformation.
60 pounds. How long did that take?
That took me a year.
Okay. Wow.
So, and that was just experimenting, doing a lot of cardio, just trying to figure out what my body wanted to lose that weight. And then I did. And from there, I started lifting weights. And that's when I got interested into becoming a personal trainer. And
How long ago was that when you became a personal trainer?
6 years now.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe 7, almost 7. Yeah. So I personal trained for 4 years. And then the gym shut down from COVID. And like I said, I got into the feeding. But I went to nutrition coaching. So I was first introduced to actual dieting through coaches that were teaching me, and then I got into the schooling part. So that's when I really learned the education side and what to use, what not to use, good and bads, all the things to cut from your diet, different things to experiment with different body types, you know, what to take out, what to try to add in. Some people respond better to high fats, some people need low fats, high carb, low carb, same thing. It's everybody's body is a different roller coaster and a different test trial. But as the coach, you really learn the cues and really quickly can get someone succeeding within 2 weeks just by knowing and experiencing it with enough people. You just kind of become very natural at it.
Yeah.
You know, you could talk to someone for 10 minutes and I can listen and already have all the ideas of like, here's where we're going to start. And it just comes to you naturally at some point.
Have you guys ever meal prep?
Yeah, actually, so it's crazy. I didn't even know you were coming on the show, but
She's coming on today.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Quan. It's not like we talk all the time or anything. But yeah, I just actually started another weight loss journey. This is like my second time around. I'm consistently in the gym, but this is like cut for me, like about to literally shave down body fat percentage and stuff like that. But I just started and I'm just cooking on my own. But I was really always looking into like if there was an affordable meal prep service that I could just like really make my life easier because I hate the time it takes to cook. I literally would do it. So I actually followed you earlier because after Quan posted, I was like, oh, this is dope. Okay, let me see what's up. But yeah, man, I learned the hard way. Dieting is crazy. You know, I went from like 230, like I was I was out of the hospital. I was like 230 after I started eating normal food again. After I got out of the hospital, sitting real heavy, and then was weightlifting, but wasn't really losing weight. So it was interesting. It was super weird. But first thing I did was change my diet, and I got down to like 195, and then I sat comfortably at like 205. So in like a 2-3 month time period, I lost like 30 pounds, and it just felt real good. But I learned at that point in time, it was food. Food is the big game changer right there. Like, it's crazy. No matter how much you work out, food matters.
Yeah.
And real quick, give a 2-minute testimony. Did you hear his testimony? I don't know if you were logged in, but for the people watching right now, give a quick testimony of what happened, like 2 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. Long story short, I got into a real bad car accident. Car accident had me in the hospital for about 7 months. So spinal injury, broken femur, biggest bone in the body. Had to relearn how to write my name again, walk. I was in a wheelchair, went from a wheelchair to a walker to a cane. And man, to God be the glory, I'm good. I'm here. Went through physical therapy for like 1.5 years, and I'm solid now. Just back in the gym trying to do the things that I was doing normally with a lot of, restrictions, but getting stronger every day. So, man, God saved my life. I shouldn't even, be walking, even though I'm blessed to be here. And yeah, from then on, it was just all, fitness and health for me too, because now I had to, train my body to do things it never did before. So kind of on that kick now.
Sarah, how would you deal with somebody like that came to you that needed all that?
Well,
with personal
we would
training
start with
and all that.
stabilizer training to protect you and rebuild your stabilizer muscles for your injury. Find out where your overactive and underactive muscles are. We would break it down which muscle imbalances you have built from the injury. We would have to reverse build that, build the weakened muscle, loosen or stretch the strengthened muscle, and first get you balanced. Once we have you corrected, we can then start going hard at the training. But first things first is we would want to fix the imbalances, or we're at high risk of injuring yourself, whether it's early or later when you get strong, doing it improperly with the improper muscles.
That's authentic. She's verified.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Facts.
So what's funny is actually I had surgery on both of my Achilles tendons in 10th grade and was in a wheelchair.
Wow.
Yes, with 2 casts on my legs. So I actually had to rehabilitate myself too.
You had surgery on both of them at the same time?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So in 10th grade, I was in a wheelchair, and then for like 3 or 6 months or so, they did serial casting to stretch my skin to get my tendons lengthened, and I had to relearn how to walk. I had braces on both legs. I went to sweethearts dance with braces. It was pretty embarrassing. But yeah, I had to also rebuild. And so I actually when I got into schooling, I went because I wanted to specialize in muscle correction and balance therapy, because even though at that point I was 20 something years old and I still had muscle imbalances from not properly correcting it from my surgery at age 16. I did the physical therapy only for the time being. But if you're not doing that consistently, the body starts to kind of go back. I started to kind of walk more on my toes. I had overactive and underactive muscles. And, for me, mine eventually I did start getting into bodybuilding. So I reconstructed my entire physique. And when I started building, my whole body started growing muscles except for my glutes and hamstrings. And that turned into a problem because I'm a trainer and I'm flat on the backside. That's not cool. And so I actually, you don't want to be the flat back trainer,
I don't
right?
want to
Like nobody wants to be that girl. But it turned out I had muscle imbalances that deactivated my hamstrings and glutes, and I had to do over a year of physical therapy to even get my glutes to start firing.
Wow.
So it was like 3 years of lifting weights. My whole body was in shape except for the backside of my legs, and that's how I learned. And so that's when I got into the specializing into the muscle imbalance corrective therapy and corrected my own, and then now I've been building for a couple of years.
Wow.
So, we got a lot better progress now, but it took time. So I definitely relate to those with injuries because I've been in the serious, recovery.
Yeah, for sure.
It's always easier when people have been there to be able to,
Yes.
know exactly what it is too.
Yeah.
If you guys want to watch the full testimony, because it's about 35 minutes, 40 minutes long that Kels spoke on it. What episode was that?
It was 2 episodes ago. What was that? 16?
The 16th? Who was on? Who do we have on?
Oh, we had
Alana Wadon?
Alana Wadon.
Okay, so just go to our channel, go to the Gorilla Cross channel and look up the episode with Alana Wadon. That was, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
And you'll be able to hear his whole testimony. I think it's in the second hour of that. So definitely, check that out because he went in depth. We showed pictures of the accident, pictures of him in the hospital. He shouldn't have made it. And it's a miracle that he's even here walking and just, being everything, man. Like, we have to thank God for the miracles that happen in our lives. Not to get too spiritual, this is Joe Seif. He wants to be here. That's why I comment so much. Not to get too spiritual, but the correlation between training wrong and having to fix it is 100% prophetic when comparing to our spiritual walk.
That's deep, Joseph.
That is deep.
Yeah.
That's some bars right there.
Yeah, man. He knew he was supposed to be here for that one. That's why. He was like, let me hit him with a nugget.
We have a seat open too. I didn't call anyone else because we had a seat wide open.
Yeah, that's real though. I like, man, it's so funny because like Sarah made a great point. Like literally, I think about like I still have mobility issues, and mobility issues come from me strengthening muscles too fast. And it's a rehab hospital and physical therapy. It's their job to get you functional again and get you out of there. They're not trying to keep you forever. They're not trying to take the slow path to work on stuff. So definitely got back in the gym too quick. Was building strength muscles too fast. Yeah. And that's why I still have mobility issues. That's why I still need to like figure out like go see stretch therapy, a physical stretch therapist and stuff like that. So that's relatable. And then when Josiah throws it in there and you match that up to your walk, it's like, man, you can't just jump on a path full stride, start running and think that you're doing everything correctly. You got to make some correction along the way, which is crazy.
Steve, good word, man. And I want to talk to Sarah about that because when I first met her, I knew about the meal prep and the training and stuff like that, and I've already been wanting to do meal prep, and I was going to use another company. When I met her, I'm like, let me use somebody that's actually I could talk to personally. She knows what she's talking about, and I like supporting local businesses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then when I heard her testimony, I'm like, yo, you're actually like, I found out she's a Christian and all that. I was going to get her on my sports show. I name sports show every Monday, 6 p.m., every Thursday, 4 p.m. We talk about sports, and it's not Christian sports, so we don't talk about Tim Tebow and Jeremy Lin the whole time. But, when I talked to her, I'm like, yo, you got to give your testimony because I've seen her on other podcasts as well. And she gives the fitness testimony and stuff like that. But you have a journey with God that goes years in the making. And I want you to get into it. You've told me a lot if there's some things you don't want to talk about with family and stuff like that. You don't have to, but just tell as much as you want. But let's just go into your childhood. How you started. What was life like?
Okay. So as I mentioned before, I'm adopted, and I was adopted at age 4. Before that, I was born into a family that was on drugs and heroin, speed, cocaine, you name it, it was everywhere.
Do you remember that time?
I don't remember. I have dreams that, are repetitive that tell me things that I don't really remember, but, you're affected in ways throughout your future, that correlate back or reactions, the way you react to things. If, you
Yeah.
know, if you go to therapy, which I have done multiple years with a therapist, and, you know, they kind of teach me my patterns that come from childhoods like mine.
Yeah.
So I don't remember much, but I know that I was affected by it. And, you know, when I was a kid, I had a really good adoptive family. All of them, they're great, but I was angry. You know, I'm one of 6 kids in my biological family. So I was really missing my siblings growing up. And my father was never in my life, but my mother, she was in my life throughout all the way, you know, till I was 9. And she was sending me prison letters, you know, making, you know, promises, things. So I had a very hard time loving my adoptive family because I felt guilty, like I was betraying my biological family.
Wow.
And I felt like, how can I replace these siblings with these siblings? And how can I, this mom and this mom, you know? And I felt when I was a kid, my best way to explain it was I felt like I was bought at a pet store.
Oh, wow.
And just taken home to a stranger's home. And, you know, like I said, now being an adult, like they loved me, they were great.
Yeah.
And, you know, but as a child, I felt so confused.
Yeah.
And then.
Which is understandable. I mean, I think that'd be confusing for any of us, especially at that age.
Yes.
And then growing up, like really realizing what that is, that's heavy
Yeah.
for anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then as I got older into my teenage years, I started to get angry about it and rebellious. And I started, you know, writing a lot of poetry. I started kind of closing myself out from the world. It was very hard for me to talk to my adopted family about it because they would try to understand, but they didn't always, you know, they more so wanted to comfort me through it. So they would be like,
Yeah.
well, you know, we're your family now. It's okay. We love you. But in my mind, I'm like, but what, you know, about, so
Yeah.
it kind of became very hard for me to open up and talk about it to them because it also hurt their feelings because they couldn't help me.
Yeah.
You know, so like looking back, you know, I just was like, you guys don't understand me. But now I'm like, they just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
They also adopted another child, my little sister, Bree. And, you know, she never had contact with the family. And so she never had a connection with missing them and wanting them. And so, you know, me and her, I'd be like, why? How come she doesn't get it?
Yeah.
You know, but again, now as
She
an
never had
adult,
that,
I'm like,
yeah.
well, she didn't have the pull, the tug, the back
Yeah.
and forth. She didn't have the knowledge of her siblings until her adulthood. She didn't know, you know, about this whole existence and have like prison letters and her mom sending
Yeah.
her birthday presents and Christmas presents. And, you know, so those things, I definitely made the mix so much more complicated for me. And then it was so hard for me to relate because it was hard for them to relate too. They had one kid that was totally fine with adoption and one kid that wasn't okay with it at all.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. And so, you know, that was a hard battle. I definitely fought against and rebelled a lot over everything pretty much that they tried to restrict. They were very strict on me, but because I needed it, you know, I was rebelling. I was sneaking around. I was lying about everything I was doing and saying I wasn't. And if I said I was here, I was probably over there hanging out doing what I wasn't supposed to do. So I was the kid that needed the strict attention, but because I was angry, that made me go further left in T's words.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, about into my high school years, I started partying and getting into, you know, over-the-counter drugs or prescriptions or sneaking pills and alcohol and mixing, you know, all kinds of things with friends. And, you know, I started going down that path. But because I also had the adoptive family that was so strict, and if I wasn't following the rules, I had no life. So I also, at the same time of being wild and crazy, I also kept my grades up. I graduated early with a 3.4 GPA. Like I had like this mixture of like, I'm trouble, but I'm also got it together because I'm being taught right, but I want to go wrong right now because I'm mad. And so, you know, I went down a wrong path for multiple years, which is when I met my child's father, and I had ran away at age 17, right after I graduated early. And, you know, at this point, my parents, they were like, we have to let her go. We have to let her learn. And, you know, she's hiding right now and she's mad. And I think they were tired too. Like I was really putting them through the ringer. And, you know, so I went down that path and I got pregnant with my son. And that is actually when I got clean immediately. And because I was born on drugs and taken away from my family, I already knew that that was something I would never do to my kid.
Yeah.
So I immediately, I even quit cigarettes overnight. And I had tried to quit cigarettes 1,000 times, and I couldn't handle withdrawals. And when I was pregnant, there was just a switch on that, it was, I don't even remember withdrawing. I don't even remember struggling with it. It was just, nope, never doing that to my kid. I don't want him to have defaults, issues, whatever. I really went into the mindset that I needed to make right the wrongs that had been done to me. So that was when my brain shifted, but I hadn't yet started believing in God. I was still angry with God too. So I had lost God in my childhood, and I don't know when it was around, but I would say probably around 10 when I got angry and I started understanding things, and I went through the.
So you had believed in God before that, though.
I was raised. My parents did raise us to be religious and took us to church. So I would.
What
I would
type
say
of
I was
church did you
more.
go to
It
when
was
you were-
Mormon,
Okay.
and I would say I was more God curious. But the Mormon religion was so strict. So again, I was kind of pulled back by that because I wanted to be more wild. And so I had a hard time connecting at that church. But I still did believe that there was something out there. There was something that loved me. But the more angry I became more questioning of, why would you do this to me?
Yeah.
I was mad. If there was a God, he wouldn't do this to somebody. So I eventually lost that faith in him. And so I got clean after having my son, and my child's father didn't. So I gave him till my son's first birthday to get it together. I figured a year was a good enough time. Well, the 9 months of pregnancy was long enough time. The year was the extension, right? The birthday that's the final, So he didn't make it through that. He kept doing drugs and hiding it from me, and he would come home from work. He was so stumbling.
You just don't want
He
that
couldn't
anywhere
even
around
hold his
your son.
Yeah, and it was everything that I was so against. But also, leaving him and raising my son alone was the scariest thing ever too. So I didn't want that to happen, and also,
And that's why a lot of moms like stay in those situations too, because they're scared of what that's going to be like. Now I got to do this on my own.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of them stay in situations that aren't good, and then the kid ends up being raised in a bad situation.
Yes. I did. I wanted to fight for our family for a long time. I tried everything. I offered to pay for him to go to rehab, and multiple years after this, I offered to. I really didn't want my son to go through losing either of his parents because of drugs and what I had went through, and so I was really trying to help get him through it, but it wasn't something I could do for him, and so I did have to make the cut and go. We ended up having a domestic violence before the birthday. So that was the first and only time I ever went to jail. Was I defended myself, and I sat in jail, and I cannot even tell you, but there wasn't a mirror, but in my mind I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I felt like I was my birth mother.
Oh, wow.
And I immediately, when I got out of there, I took my baby and I had to go. I was like, I am not going down this route with my child. It is not going to happen. And this is a cue. So it was literally a week or two before the birthday. Like, it was that close of a timeline. And it just seemed like all the signs that it's like, nope. And, the judge actually was a local judge in Boulder City who actually was a part of my adoption and legal and friends with my parents. So he actually gave me a really good pep talk in jail before he let me out. And he told me the statistics of what will happen if I stay and if I don't get out and protect my baby right away. And he spoke to me saying, I know your situation, what you went through. And if you don't want that, like, my biggest advice is you have to go, or you're going to be back here next week. And I was like, yeah. So I did leave. I
so
took his
those words
advice.
had a big impact on you too. That probably helped propel you to actually make that move.
Yes. So I did, and that led me to, anger management classes and having to go to domestic violence classes to learn about abuse and what abuse was from men or women in relationships. And it was a women's group. And that group, we had to go through kind of like the STEPS program that they provided. And at the time, I still didn't believe in God. So I chose love as my higher power. And, that was my first step towards starting to believe in God, but I didn't really know that I was believing in God yet, but I was choosing something that was so real and strong to me that today is just it's God. But back then I had to call it love because I was still rebelling.
You didn't want to admit that it was God.
Yeah, and I really didn't know either.
Yeah.
Like, it really, like, if you would ask me then, I wouldn't have thought it at all. But, you know, now looking back, I know he was in my journey at that time. And then from there, you know, some time went by and I was still I wasn't dieting or any of that. I was just trying to be a single mom, working 3 jobs, raising my kid by myself. Wow. He was still on the wrong path. So there was no such thing as child support. There was no such thing as his help. And, you know, not even at this point, within a year, he wasn't even doing visitations. He was, you know, the first year of the separation, I have it all noted down. He visited like 4 times and it was only holiday, you know, triggers. And after that, you know, he tried to come back and I told him, you know, he needed to pass a drug test and he didn't pass it. And he didn't want to take it either. But then I was like, well, if you want to see him, all you have to do is, I was already ready for him. You know, I had the drug test ready and because I wanted to see him pass, you know, I wanted him to win. And, you know, that's what I kept telling him is you need to understand I'm on your side, but I'm on Drayden's side first, our son. Yeah. And he cannot see you this way and that will destroy him. And if you love him, you have to admit that you're an unfit father and that's the best you can do for him, even if it's also the worst thing you can do. And sometimes, you know, you have to protect him by staying away. So that is one thing I will commend him, that even though my son has not seen his father since before his 2nd birthday, and he's 14 almost next week. And that is one of the hardest but best things he's done. So, you know, I'm thankful that he's done that because he has been worse and worse and worse over all these years. And, you know, so I started going to Al-Anon meetings because I was struggling really hard.
What's that?
So Al-Anon is a support group for the loved ones of the addicts.
Okay.
And it's a group. I was struggling and I was serving tables at the time, and one of the regulars, we were always gossiping and talking, and they were coming in as a group, and it was all these ladies, and they'd have these books, and they looked like AA books, but they were Al-Anon. And so I kind of was listening because they would come in every week after the meeting, and it was like twice a week. And so I started kind of picking up, but they were ladies that had children that were on drugs or lost their husbands to drugs. And so I started kind of going like, I relate to you guys. Like, what is this? One of the ladies was a friend, a girl that I went to school with. It was one of her moms, her mom. And so I actually asked her personally, and she recommended me to come to a meeting. And I went, and that was when I started really believing in the love concept again and really practicing the steps in the program. And getting into that program inspired me to work in the AA program. So I was like, now I want to help addicts. I'm trying to help myself. I'm getting through this. I'm going to therapy. And now I want to help other addicts. And that was something, you know, I always wanted to help my mom, my dad, my child's father. I always wanted to save them all. And I couldn't. So I was like, well, I could get in the program and help those who want to be helped, that are seeking it. And so I started working, you know, towards doing the steps, because you have to do the steps to make the program. And then we're fast forwarding about 7 years this timeline. I had been seeing that therapist for 7 years, and my therapist murdered his wife. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bro.
Okay, so you're seeing a therapist for 7 years. They're helping you out.
Wow.
He's helping you out.
I mean, he changed and saved my life, helped me out.
Right.
Wow.
You know, changed my perspective on everything. All these things helped me learn how to make it a positive. All the negatives taught me how I could make myself stronger through them, that these things that had happened to make me stronger and to be a purpose. And that if I worked on those things, that I could heal myself by making them right. And if I chose the opposite decisions that hurt me, you know, so.
Okay, so this just took a turn. So
Yeah.
do you go to your therapy meeting and they're like, oh, by the way,
That was my first
there's
thought,
no
actually.
meeting
How do
today?
you-
Like how'd you find that out?
Actually, I went to my therapist, and he had to tell me at the start of that session that he had been accused of murdering his wife, and it was my choice if I wanted to
so
complete my session or not that
He
day.
didn't get caught right away.
No, they were under an investigation for over a year.
Oh, wow.
And they shut his business down by my next meeting, it was closed.
So did you stay for the meeting that day?
I did.
So you believe,
She knew
was
it
he
for
saying
7
like, I'm just accused, I didn't really do it?
Well, I mean, he kind of, told me that he didn't do it and,
Yeah.
and that, but I trusted him. I had been seeing him for 7 years, and for a long time,
you feel like you know someone
for
after that
multiple
long.
times,
Yeah.
I saw him twice a week during the hardest times. At that when I first started seeing him, it was the beginning. I had just left my child's father, and I also just found out that my biological mother died and overdosed on heroin, speed, and cocaine.
Oh, wow.
So when I first saw him, it was twice a week. It
Yeah.
was like, I can't go back to drugs. I have a kid. I'm now fighting the world alone. I've got to protect myself and my son. Like, help me. And I was there twice a week for months. And then we got me to once a week. And then after a couple of years, it was like when I really just needed to talk. But it was, so for that fast forward time, he had told me that he was, charged of this and they were under investigation. So, I was in shock, but I also was there for a reason that day. So I got it out, got his advice, and, and then by the next session, he was shut down. But that, was
So he was giving you advice for a year, though.
for 7 years.
No, well, I mean, after he killed his wife.
No, I was 7 years in, so I was only seeing him like every 3 months or 6 months when I just needed help.
So there's just a couple times during that time
I mean, I
period.
got to the point where I would come in and I would tell him all the good things that I was doing in the life I was building for Drayden and I, and he would look at me, he'd be like, "Did you just come here to show off? Like, what do you need?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just need to talk about. I need to make sure. I need to check in. Like, is there better I can do? And he'd be like,
so you weren't seeing him that much in that year?
No, not at this point.
Okay.
But I was still very heartbroken and crushed. And
No, for sure,
then
for
I
sure.
questioned everything I learned. And so now I was spinning and spiraling again. And I was in danger again because I was like, what? The one person who's not supposed to betray me in my life after my parents, my dad, all this. I'm like, really? Like, even this person? Like, how does this happen to somebody? So again, I'm questioning everything.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had a friend who was going to Central Christian Church. And so they invited me, and I was like, well, I don't believe in God, but I'll go for the positive message. My therapist just killing me. I mean, I need something at this point. And so I started going to the church, and I would just kind of listen over the word God, and I would put the word love when they would say his name, and I would just think love and I started really liking the message. And so I kept going for the message, but I didn't believe yet. I really didn't. And one thing that I like about Central Christian is that one of their mottos is, it's okay to not be okay. And that really spoke to me because I had so many years where I lived in darkness and anger and chaos and going down the wrong path and being destructive, hurting the people that I love or that love me too. And so I started going to the church, and that was during my weight loss journey. Now I started, losing my weight sometime after I was going, and then I was going to the program because they have a huge recovery program. As the pastor, Judd, he's an ex-addict, so he's like big on recovery. The program is huge, and so I was so inspired by that. They even have God Behind Bars where they do church in prison, and and they broadcast it live everywhere. And so my original goal, I wanted to get into the program and then work my way into the prisons to help the parents and to work with the children that were coming to visit their parents, and all the drives that we were doing, the donation. My son and I were donating like crazy to all of anything about that and everything else too. But that was where my passion was. So I started doing the program, and I was working in it, doing the steps, and I started losing all this weight and just changing my life. And the church, the leaders had started talking to me when I started losing weight, and people were starting to ask me for help, and I was giving advice. And one of the leaders questioned me, and they were like, "Are you sure you're not limiting your gift? Are you sure you're meant to be here?" And I'm like, well, of course, this is everything that I breathe, that I love. This is all the people, this is all that I can do to give back.
And had you accepted Christ in your life at this time?
Not yet.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
I was still on the fence, and I was got the toe in the water, but not ready to jump yet, but still, held back. And, so I started that kind of planting a seed. And it was so weird because I went home that day. When she asked me that, she was like, "Are you sure you're not meant to help more people than just limiting your gift to just addicts, and that maybe you're meant to help more people, including addicts too?"
Right.
And I was like, I don't know. I never thought of that. And I went home that weekend. It was like that day, and I had like 7 messages from all different strangers asking me for help. It was one of those like okay, that's a weird sign.
Yeah.
So within that week, before I even went back to church the next Sunday, I went and talked to the manager or owner at the Lifetime Fitness, asked him, what do I need to do to be taken qualified and seriously in a high class gym? What schooling do I need? What education? So he told me the top schooling that they won't even consider you without the corrective therapy, you know, all those high class, you know. So that's where I went to school. I signed up that week. I went back next Sunday and was like, guess what I did? I signed up for this. Like, okay. And we're going to try it. So I started doing that, and I still studied in the program, and I really liked it, and it was very healing for me. But then the world led me into another direction, and I was going to church, and they went into the chapter about talking about how you test God, and I'm like, whoa, you're not supposed to do that. There's one thing I know, and you don't do that. Right? I'm thinking that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like, that's like if you're trying to test to get cursed by God or shot by lightning, I don't know, you know, bad idea. All I knew was don't do that. And so, but then they started pulling out all these parts of the Bible of different parts where God said to challenge him and that you can test him. And if you do, he would move mountains and bring miracles. And I'm like,
And that's crazy because that's such a big misconception of people that you know aren't reading the Bible and aren't getting in the Word, that you're not supposed to test God.
yeah.
He wants to show himself real to people.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's good that they taught that.
Yeah, so they start telling me to test God, and it was a 4-week class, and I'm thinking, okay, first week, I'm like, I don't know about this, but they're showing all the things about how you test God, and of course, I'm listening because I'm not a believer yet.
Yeah.
So, there, you know, first week, like, just was like a punch, and I was like, didn't faze me, right? But the next week, they start reading more stuff, and then they're talking about, they're like, look, the way you can test God, one of the best ways is to look around your life and find the one person that you're ignoring and you're looking over that needs help today and that the whole world is looking over, and reach out to them with the hand of Christ and welcome them and bring them to church. Take them to God and wash a sinner's feet. And I'm like, okay, y'all are crazy now, right? But now I'm like, but I'm also have a heart for that. So I'm like, okay, but where do I start? And so I go back home. I'm like, okay, that was weird. I don't know. I had some weird feelings, but again, not going to do that. You know, I'm thinking, how can I, you know, I'm working with the AA program and that's enough. But then the next week they went through the session again. Now I'm like feeling poked and like kind of peeved and like irritated. I'm like, oh, what is going on? Like, you know, and so I started noticing the dishwasher at my job, and everybody noticed him. He was on serious drugs. He had, needle marks down his arm. He was shaky. He was moving. He was scary. He was kind. We all were okay with working with him. He was the owner of the restaurant's nephew. So we felt safe, even though we knew he was dangerous. But we knew, like, okay, well, you know, there's a connection here. He's family. Like, we're all okay. So I noticed him that week. But then with the track marks and the shaky, and he can't even talk sentences. He was that.
Wow,
he was
that bad.
He was that bad, and it was so scary. And so I'm like, you know, it crossed my mind, but I'm thinking, no, like, no way. How hypocritical would that be for me to do this after I didn't let my son's own father in our lives over him being on drugs? So I had this battle of like, I feel like I'm being a hypocrite, and I feel bad to do that to my, you know. And it was crossing for me. But then the next week was the last session of that chapter. And I was like, okay, you know, and I went to work then Saturday night, the next week. And I was like, I was trying to blow this off. Like, I was like, whew, dodge a bullet. Don't got to do that test, you know? Okay. But then I'm outside, and at that time I smoked cigarettes still, and so I'm on my smoke break, and that day the dishwasher was the worst hot mess I've ever seen him in my life. He was I mean, he was bad on all the other days, but this day was like, is he okay? You know?
Wow.
And so I was outside taking my break, and it was around closing time, so that's why I was getting the break, because we were going to shut down. So I'm like, okay, smoking by myself, you know, we're good. And he comes out, and he's rocking, sitting there, and he starts smoking a cigarette. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like totally going to ignore him like I normally would. And I swear the moonlight shined him up. I don't, and you know, they say God and the shine the light down. I don't know, but I swear whatever it was, everything inside me was telling me, talk to him, do it, reach out, you know, invite him to church. I was hearing all those sessions in my head and I tried to fight it. I was like, nope, not doing it. No. And it tugged and I turned around and I said, are you okay? And he first ignored me. He had his back to me. And then I was like, hey, are you okay? And he was like, what? And he looked at me like he could not believe I even spoke to him. And he was like, me? And I was like, yes. Are you okay? You seem a little stressed out today. And he's like, oh, no, I'm fine. Like, we're good. And I'm like, okay, was just checking. And then we went back to awkwardly smoking our cigarettes separate. And I'm like, all right, that didn't work. Thank you. You know, like, good one. But then a minute later, he turns around and he's like, you know what? Actually, I'm not okay. My brother's in the hospital. And he's kind of a cause for doing it to himself, but he's not okay right now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? You know, like I'm trying, you know, I'm like, well, you know, he's like, well, he might do a little drugs and he might have done a little too much. And he's not confessing to me that he does drugs, but it's obvious. Yeah. So I just looked at him and I thought, well, what would God say? So I was like, okay. I was like, I'm so sorry to hear that. And I'm going to pray for you and your family. And speaking to him, but not speaking to him, I was like, I hope whoever else in your family is on drugs, that this is a wake up for them and this will help get them clean. And this would be, you know, a turnaround for anyone else in your family who's struggling with this. And he was like, wow, that's really nice. Thank you. And then I told him, you know, now we're like running out of cigarettes. So we're like, we got to go back in. And so I'm like, listen, I'm going to church tomorrow. It's Saturday night. I'm going to church tomorrow. If you want to hop in with me and my son, I'll gladly take you. And he's like, really? I haven't been to church in like 15 years. I don't know if I should. And I'm like, no, it's that kind of church. Like they're totally cool with everybody and you'll feel so great. And, you know, and I can show you the recovery program, maybe with your brothers when he's okay. We can all go check it out, you know? And so I'm like sending this invite and he's like, okay. I give him my phone number and we are like, you know, I go home. And he calls me after work, like an hour later, because he's a dishwasher, so he stayed longer to close. I'm closing down the front. I get out early. So he calls me like an hour later and is like, did you really mean that invite that I could go with you tomorrow? And I was, absolutely. Huh. You know, and then I just heard in his pause that he was not okay. And so I remembered what they said at church about inviting the sinner in and washing their feet and taking them into your home. And that just kept repeating. So I, you know, put him on mute and I talked to my cousin who I was renting my third room to at that time and told her, I said, I'm about to do something really crazy and totally against everything that I believed in the past, you know, 10 years of raising my son alone. And it was 5 years, sorry. And I was like, okay, well, and so I told her the story and she was like, well, I'm in here. I'll listen. You know, if I hear anything weird, I'll be right out there. Okay. You know, she's got my back. All right. So I invite him over and I said, it's like 10 o'clock at night right now. My son's already in bed, which is also why I felt safe because my son was already long asleep. We're fine. He's only like 5 at the time. And so I'm like, okay, well, he comes over, he walks over. His Boulder City is a small town. And we talked for like 7 hours till the next morning on my porch all night. Right. And we just smoked the whole pack of cigarettes. And he told me his story about his drugs, how his family, his mother, his sister, his brother had all became addicted to drugs from a car accident and pain medicines that they had been put on. And then when they were taken away, they all withdrawed so hard they ended up getting into street drugs, I guess. I don't know exactly. But before that, he was like in college. He had straight A's. Like he was the manager for UPS. Like he was going somewhere. And, you know, and I was like, listening, I was like, you are meant to be so much more. Like what happened? And
the crazy thing is, like you said, everyone just looked him over, right? He was just the druggy dishwasher that only has a job because he's the nephew of the owner.
Yes. Yeah.
And you know, I mean, even out here, like we're in downtown Vegas, we drive by them every day. Like they all have a story. They all have something that they might have been doing before they got to this point.
Yeah.
You know, like PJ, you can't stay centered in the camera. You're finally doing better. But I mean, I think that's huge. The fact that like God used you to open your mouth to be able to hear his story. And like he had a story, right? Like he had something he was doing. He had aspirations, and there's a reason why he got into drugs and got to where he's at. And, you know, God used you to this point.
And I still didn't know God was using me at the time. I still didn't believe. And
what did you think it was?
I was testing God.
Yeah.
It was a test.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm going to try it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to, but then I said the moonlight. All of a sudden, I was, okay, I think I'm supposed to. So I just did it. And
is Alyssa the one that was
that's my cousin.
Okay.
Yes, she's protecting me. That's her.
Yeah.
And so, oh, she was so sweet. So we're like, we have that whole talk all night. He goes to church with me and my son the next day. I told my son, you know, he was only 5, but I gave him a quick, you know, like, listen, we're going to help someone who's really in need and struggling right now. And he might be a little sick and a little weird, but he's okay. You know, we're going to take him because he needs help. And so my son, you know, he's like 5 with his little high pitched voice. He's like, okay, mommy, you know, and so he goes, you know, we're like, and so it's so cute. You know, my son was like cheering him on and like all for it. And so I still didn't believe in God yet. But after this, he started to get clean within that first week. He was like, I'm going to get off drugs. And I was like, okay, I'll support you. You know, I'm here for you. And so he started doing, you know, getting clean. I mean, he was doing heroin and speed and shooting it up. And he was done within a month. Done. Off, clean. I mean, already
and
looking
anyone
better.
that knows about heroin, that's not easy to get off
you don't
of.
just
That's
kick that.
yeah.
No, it was insane. I couldn't believe it. I never seen anybody get clean that fast or without help or without, you know, going to the centers, you know, and getting medicine to help them withdrawal. So I'm like, already, okay, so now I'm starting to become God curious because I'm like, this is weird. This is not a common, you know, factor. But I'm okay, well, we'll continue on. So I start to become friends with him, and you know, I start bringing him around my friends because he has no friends, and everybody in his life is all bad. And you know, he was
the only people he knows is probably drug dealers.
Yes, and he
users.
was the only one working in the household, and because his uncle gave him a opportunity, and so he was also feeding his family's drug problems.
Wow.
So this was the hardest part of his recovery was his mom, his sister, and a brother, they relied on him for his drugs. So if he didn't give the money, it was ugly.
Oh, wow.
So there was a good year there, good 6 months or so, a year that he was still giving the money, so they would leave him alone, but he wasn't getting high anymore. But he didn't. We didn't know how to get them all off. So he was just like, look, I have to give them, you know, at least half of what I used to give them because since I'm not doing it, but it shuts them up, and then they leave me alone, and then I'm not tempted because they're not me, you know, they're not angry, but. You know, at this point now, there's certain times he's sleeping on my couch now because it's ugly at home. You know, it was scary. You know, I went over there at some point. I met his mom and dad, and they were all, you know, very kind people. They, you know, there was roaches on the walls. I mean, it was totally ran down. Sister saw me as a threat, and she was not happy that I had got her brother off of drugs. And you know, she looked at me and said, you know, I love heroin and I will never get clean.
Wow.
You're never going to get me off. I love it. And I felt so scared looking at someone telling that to me. It was so sad. And
that's the drugs talking.
Yes. Yeah. And she was high when she told me, and you know, and she was one of the worst out of all of them. I mean, they all were just, they were equally. But so we're a couple months in, and his brother died. He overdosed and died. Wow. Second time. I don't know. It was just like 2-3 months later. It was quick. And so then there comes the real test of his sobriety. And so he slipped for about a month, and he totally disappeared from me, just like T Thunder.
T-Strike.
Oh, right, T-Strike.
That might have been his OnlyFans name.
T-Thunder. Yeah, that was probably his name. Yeah, so.
Out of control.
So we're, you know, he just completely disappeared, like fell off the radar, like blocked me, like, where did you go? You know, so I was looking for him because I was like, he was doing so good. Like, I just didn't want to let go of helping him yet. And I was like, you know, and I knew that it was just the losing of his brother. Like, maybe we can pull him back. And so I had put it on Facebook, like, I'm looking for my friend. Does anybody know where he is? Like, at this point, I didn't care who judged me. If I was friends with him, it does not matter. Like, I'm going to find him. Boulder City small, someone will have seen him. And so somebody wrote me, and they're like, oh, he's staying next door with this girl. And I'm like, boom, found you, right? So I contact him, and I'm like, look, I'm so sorry what happened, but I'm here for you. Do you want to go back to church? And he left that girl, boom, was back in a church with me the next week, and he was, thank you for
Wow.
calling me. I didn't know how to come back. I felt so ashamed. I didn't know how to call you and tell you what I did. And, and so he, again, was getting clean. And we were working the program. We were doing all the things. And this time it was so much harder for him to get clean. I don't know if it was because of the emotions and what he had gone through and that his whole family was grieving. But this time he was like, I can't do the withdrawals. I can't.
Wow.
So we took him to the clinic and we got him on the medicine. And so we started doing that, and his withdrawals were so light and so mild that he was going home, and his mom and sister were like, what the hell? Because the first time they saw him, he was fucked up withdrawing. Excuse my language. He was not okay, right? He's sweating, he's panting, just take my money, and running away, and he's not, and this time he's coming home calm. He's telling them like, whoa, I can't believe this. This is so weird. Like, I don't feel miserable. And I'm like, okay. And so this time we start trying to talk his mom and sister to getting onto the medication. And we're like, okay. So he starts, inviting them to try that, and we get them signed up. And he signed against the waiver to go on their timeline program because since he got off so fast the first try, he didn't want to spend 12 months getting off. He was like, no, I'm going to go against the doctor's order and get off faster. You're going to taper me off faster. So he signed against that. His mom, went with the program. His sister, same thing. They went with the program. And they started all going through the program. We took them to church a few times, and needless to say, my son it's been 9 years, and this guy is my best friend today. And he has been clean for 8 years now.
Wow.
His mom and sister have been clean for 6. And the dad is no longer an alcoholic. And the whole family was saved before me because I did one invite to church.
That's amazing.
And it is the so somewhere when mom and sister were about a year clean, that was when I couldn't deny it.
And
anymore.
are they still in church?
They don't always go to church. They watch online sometimes.
Yeah.
They're not as active in the church, but if you talk to them, they believe in God. They'll talk about it, and it's very positive conversations. But today this family is a second family of mine.
Yeah.
And when God moved mountains and moved miracles, and bring healing to me, like for me, that's the family I couldn't save of my own family. And now I go over there on holidays. They didn't even have Christmas for years. That was the craziest thing when they told me, they're like, we haven't even had a Christmas tree in 10 years. That's normal here. I'm like, wait a second. So the first year we bought them like a 2-foot tree, me and Gus, so we give them the tree. And, we're like, here, little dollar store, like, let's start. And now, I go over there. They've got the tree. Mom's cooking turkey. Mom's on a weight loss journey, so healthy now. They're the most they were always so sweet from the start, except for sister was a little rough at start, but that's just because I was a threat to, she knew what I was coming to do, and she didn't want a part of it.
Wow.
And but now this whole family, they're my best friends. They're some of the closest people I am to. Mom and dad, I hug them, I love them. They, dad, they've had personal talks with me about, helping Gus and helping, and how it helps the whole family.
Yeah.
And, we've had those deep talks now, and that was, the moment that I could not deny all of it. Just watching Gus get clean was enough for me to know that something existed. And then watching the whole family get clean over all these years and this many years of being clean. And, over the time, I taught Gus how to finance, how to save money, how to get a real job, how to work 2 jobs at once so you could save and get ahead because you're so far behind right now. We had to get him a car. We had to get him credit, so we started off all these things. So his sister was a few years younger than him. He's a little older than me, and she's a couple years younger than me. So I'm in the middle of them.
Yeah.
And she's watching him, so she's learning. She's like, oh, maybe I should work 2 jobs. Maybe I should start doing that. And so now she's working 2 jobs. Now she's working, trying to get out of the kitchen to become server so she can make tips. And now she's trying to save money. And, and so I go with him, to go get his first car. I'd help make sure that he doesn't get, too, because he didn't have credit. So I knew he'd have a high interest rate, helped him with that. We saved the $5,000 to get him a down payment so he could get any kind of beater up car just to get into one so he could build credit. And now we're on his 3rd car. And he's driving a cool Mustang now with the stripe on it, the 2-door, and it's like, and he's worked so hard, and now, he still works 2 jobs, and, because he wants to keep getting ahead and saving, and he's worked his way up to the front of the industry now and works in the tip industry, and he makes great money, and so does his sister, and his mom works, and like I said, they live a normal life now, and dad is, great. They all got little Yorkies now, and they have love babies because none of the kids had kids, so the Gus and Angie, they both got little Yorkies, and mom and dad babysit them, and so it's like the cutest little family dynamic,
cool.
but it is like the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And so that's where my God journey really began. But again, for me, it was so much healing because all that questioning of my own worth, why wasn't I good enough, or were they really sick? Do they really not have an option or a choice? I guess somewhere in me, it gave me that understanding that it really was my mother's choice. It really is my child's father's choice. It really it does boil down to a decision. And, I don't know if maybe the right person just didn't come into their life or what it is, but I know I've tried to do my part, and, and I continue to still try to be welcoming and caring towards him. And, but...
And we all have individual decisions to make in life, so you can't blame that on other people. I've lost a family member, a couple of family members to drugs and alcohol, so you could blame what could have I done more, but ultimately, we make our own choices and we choose our path, because God has a plan for all of us. Yeah. So we need to stick to that. So Joseph said, Sarah, God used you in the most relatable way that only you could understand, so that you would know he's real. So happy for you being willing to step out in faith. And that is big. That's big. So where are you at now with God? So you got saved. Yeah. You gave your life to the Lord. Yeah. What's that journey been like now after that?
Yeah, so, I went through all of that, and then I got into the personal training and the fitness training, and so I started helping people in all different ways, and for me, that was so healing. It turned in, and when I learned in therapy, even though I didn't see my therapist anymore because he was in prison, or he is still in prison, but I still was using the practices, so I started to really utilize, what I heard in therapy was very similar to what I was hearing in church. Just one had the word God in it and one didn't. But it was the same lessons. And so I started seeing the connections that I was like, oh my gosh, I already know all this, and I've been practicing all of this. And so I learned, that helping other people was healing for me. That's what made me feel better about what happened to me as a child, what happened to, my innocence, or having a victim mentality, being angry, being mad at the world, blaming everybody else, running away and being scared, and then me and my baby against the world, and and then having to undo all the wrong that I just did, the hole I just dug, and dig myself back and climb out of it. And that was a good 10-year climb. When I had my 10-year sobriety date, I couldn't believe I even ever made it there. There was a point in time I didn't think I was going to make it past 21. I didn't see a further. At 17, I was like, there was not going to be a future for me, and I was okay. I was purposely going that direction, and I was okay with it. And my son definitely saved my life and turned that around. But then, getting in with God was a whole nother level, because it gave me purpose. My son gave me purpose because I wanted to make it right for him and be an example to him, and that's how I got into all the things. But then adding God made the picture so much bigger, because it wasn't just about my son anymore. It was about helping everybody and loving everyone, and accepting people for their flaws, this and that, listening to their story, lifting them up. I was always a very personal coach. I'm still a very personal owner. I get on the phone with every customer. I listen to all your stories. If you called me, I would spend an hour on the phone with you easily, hearing all this, that. Even some of your life story would come up, and I would tell you, I have the gift of gab, I would just continue. And that is something that, for me, again, helping others is healing for me. So everything that I've been doing over those years, each milestone, it's healing me more and more and making me stronger and more. And then the more people I'm seeing helping, it's uplifting me, where once I felt so crushed and broken and traumatized and gone through things that are still not okay in my heart, but are the fire that makes me fight for others who are hurting. And I cannot help it because I have so many things that I had gone through that I still today feel they're not okay, and I will fight for it. I will stand up with justice. You can consider me someone with a strike sign in my hand. And that's how I feel about helping people, is that, I don't overlook people anymore. And if I see someone, I do offer the help, or I offer, whatever I can do. And, there are the people that you can't help, and there are the people you can. There's people who are looking for help. There's people who aren't. You have to learn that difference. And you can tell real quickly, after trying to help someone within a week, if they're really going to try or not. You can see. But, again, it's just been a healing journey for me finding God in it, because it's a love that I never felt in my life. It is so accepting. There is no such thing as, the forgiveness. Forgiveness was the hardest of all practices for me. For
you to be able to forgive.
Yes, for me to forgive, but also to feel forgiven. Because I did so many wrongs because of the anger that I had gone through, and to feel like there was somebody telling me that it's okay, that there was a reason I put you through that. I so strongly believe that God puts his strongest soldiers through the hardest battles, because he is putting us through the mess so we can become a messenger. And that is what I have learned to turn my story into. I first used to just throw my story out so negatively. A lot of my poetry is very dark and scary and twisted, and it's gut-wrenching. And that's when I didn't know how to use it yet as a power. That was just when I knew how to just spill that I'm broken.
Yeah.
I'm broken, I'm shattered, I'm trouble, red flag left and right about me. And when I started learning how to heal myself and started learning how to talk about it in a healthy way, practicing in therapy, and then all these times now helping all these people, I've learned to take all of that and channel it into a place of beauty. But I had to earn that. Yeah. That didn't come just because I knew that deep down I was this beautiful person and that I meant well. It came from each good person, good deed, good thing I did to build that confidence about myself, to know that I am who I know that I am. I define me, not what happened to me. God loves me. It's relentless, that there is nothing. And those words, I constantly hear those all the time now in my head, all the time.
And God defines you. You don't even define yourself. God defines you, because he's given you who you are, right? And I think God's not even close to being starting where you're gonna go with helping people and being that light that Jesus called us to be, being that discipling people more than just helping. Like we're called to really disciple and make disciples of people. And I don't think God's even started, or you've even started doing what God's called you to do yet.
Yeah.
Right.
I do feel like I'm just starting to tap into it.
Yeah.
And, I've always wanted to share my story, become a speaker one day. This is a practice that I'm working on really hard this year. It has been my dream since I was a kid one day to speak to people and help them. And,
and you're doing that right now, even through this platform right here.
Yeah. I had that passion as a little girl. And at first, and even back then I was like, I wanted to help adopted kids. And so no matter what it was, it's always connected to what I've been through. But now, just like the church lady had said, are you limiting your gift because you're targeting one audience, where she's like, I think you have a whole group of audiences to help. And I was like, I do? I was like, me? Sure. But now I see it, and I have people of all different, health problems, health scares, emotional problems, childhood issues, things. I can relate to all different kinds of things, and I am open about it. I talk about it. I share it. I write it on my page. I've learned how to express it in good ways. So I attract it, I bring it back, and it's, I don't know how to explain it, but it's the best feeling. It's the best feeling all the time. My customers, my employees, my staff, my clients, they all, I feel like every week, someone or a couple people make me cry, because they're telling me how much I've changed their life, how much I've helped them, how many times I was there in the hard times. As I take those calls, I don't care. I will get on the phone with you if it's a rough one. Even if it's something like, I just have you dieting really hard and you're crashing, like what you guys were talking about, what you go through when you fast. I've also done the competing, and I work with a lot of competitors, and they're not fasting, but they're starving. and they're starving for 16 weeks, 28 weeks, however long they have to do that cut to step on that stage. And they go through those emotions, those crashes, those things. And not all of them are going to connect it to God because it wasn't a spiritual fast. But those like things like what you said, it almost gets scary. Yeah. When I even competed, I went through it too. And so I'm there for people in so many different ways now. And it's so cool because I relate to it. And then I have people call me and someone's like, well, this is my problem. And I'm like, I've never worked with this. I'll be totally honest with you, but I will do research and call you back. And I do. I will hang up. I will call my doctor friends. I will call them. Hey, I have someone with this. Can you just advise me? How should I start with their diet? What should I do? I will educate myself to help someone. And I will be honest with them, like, let me call you back. And then I will come and then I'll tell them, well, let's try this. Let's try that. And we'll do it. And they get the results. Or we have to tweak something in a week. But then they do get the results. Yeah. And then, but what's cool is like, then all of a sudden I get the call next week, 2 weeks later. And it's someone with the same problem. And I'm like, I've done this, you know that, right? And so I just keep going further and further and further, and I just keep pushing. And I like to listen to poetry, and one of my favorite poets is Hosanna Poetry. But she talks about stretching your arms with the stretch marks of faith and reaching as far as you can and being the ripples in the tide. And, she says so many powerful things to me that speaks so loud. She also comes from a rough childhood, and her father was an ex-addict who became a preacher when she was older, and it's the most beautiful story. But she's got some again, I hold on to lyrics or phrases and they repeat in my head all the time. So the moment someone comes to me with something, it's like I'm like going through my dictionary real fast. I'm like, oh, I got one here. And I preach all the time. And sometimes if I can tell someone's not very religious, then I know how to also word to them where it's like I'm not pushing God on you, and I can very lightly not use the word, just like how I used to have to be spoken to. Yeah. So kind of just everybody's different, and I just kind of keep going through all the avenues. And like I said, my life, I keep getting better and better and more spiritual. Now it's all the time. It's every day. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I do hope that you just continue that journey too. And we can't do it if we're not getting in the Word daily. I think we've been talking about that a lot on this show. Getting in the Word and really seeking God, full force. You guys have any questions?
Yeah, there was a lot. You've been on a journey for sure. Amazing though. I think to me, the biggest thing that stood out was that moment where God's kind of like, okay, listen to me for a second and, take some action. I feel like we all have it in different ways. We all go through it in different ways. But the hardest part is, taking that leap of faith, like listening in that moment, and it changed your life. It changed your perspective. All right. It's like this doesn't make sense to me, but I know I'm not crazy. This is something's telling me to do it, and you did it, which is amazing. That's literally, like walking by faith and not by sight. It doesn't make sense. It's not right in front of you. It's not something that you physically could see, but let me take this walk anyway. And I think that it's amazing. The results are amazing. You are going to continue to grow as a person, like you said. So spiritually, you're going to continue to grow. You're going to, just like your fitness journey, you're going to keep working out your faith as well. And the amount of people that you have the potential to reach is, limitless. It's insane. You're going to be put in front of people where you might be talking about nutrition, and it's going to end up being about God. You're going to be in front of people where you want to help with the recovery, and then it ends up being about nutrition. So just excited to see how God uses you. That's dope.
Thank you. It's really cool. And I like how you pointed out the listening to God's crazy ideas, because they're all crazy almost. You're like, what? Like, he constantly challenges me. My business today is all God led, and I was so afraid to do it, and I was like, no, but I was feeling pushed that I could help people. Through my company now, I can help hundreds of people every week, where I couldn't do that when I was a personal trainer. And so now I'm helping people by the multiple amount, massive, lot larger amount. So it's been a blessing, and every single thing, like, this business is really scary, and the moves and the finances and, the investments and, money does have hold on our hearts. And that's a hard one sometimes to let go when you're like, I've got this much in the account and I need to invest this much. And you're like, I have no business doing this. Right. I have no business taking out this loan. I don't even know how I'm going to pay it back. Right. But you feeling this push by God saying, do it. He wants me to help people. He wants me to do this. He's telling me that if I do this, he's going to help me. He has plans for me to prosper. And I keep hearing that. And I'm thinking, there's no way. Even my business vehicle that I bought, I had to buy it during COVID when no cars were available. And I was ordering a RAV4 that, was green because my company was healthy, and I was green and had all the things I needed. And it was going to be like a 6-month wait. And I was driving a Honda Civic. This was towards the early part of my company. And I was with it real quickly. I outgrew that little car. Yeah. And I was like, I can't even haul the shop to my kitchen anymore. when I got into a commissary kitchen, and I was like, this is going to be trouble. And I could not find a car anywhere. They were, and so I kept praying on it. And then one day I realized there was one Toyota in Centennial that I was like, wait, I don't think I checked them out. So I called them. I was like, by any chance you guys have RAV4? So they're like, oh, absolutely not. But we do have one that you can test drive. So if you want to order it, you at least know that you like it. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll come test drive it. So I'm on my way, and I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's going to be 6 months till I can even get a car, and my business is growing, and this is going to be bad. I don't know how this is going to work. And I'm scared. I'm driving, and I don't know. It was like weird. There were signs on the way, and I was seeing like repeating numbers, and I was like, and I just felt like God was with me on the drive, and I just could feel him. And I started talking about it to my friend, and I call them the God bumps. When you're talking about God and you get goosebumps, I'm like, oh, I got the God bumps. He's here, And so I'm like, okay. Driving there, and in the middle of the test drive, I'm getting ready to leave, and I'm driving away, and I'm like, okay, I signed up to buy it. I'm gonna wait the wait. Okay, God, if something comes, I guess we'll just, I'm just gonna keep praying on this, that maybe they'll come with it sooner. On the way home, I get a phone call that somebody just canceled their loan for the RAV4, and they were gonna push me forward in line because of how badly I needed a vehicle. And the weird part about it was the green RAV4. And it had all the custom things that I added in my order to it.
Wow.
Every check mark that I added to have built on was on this vehicle, and it was the same color. I mean, I was crying, and I was like, what? Wow. And now I was like, oh, shoot, I can't even afford this loan. Like, what? Wait, now I'm like, what, God? Like, really? And then I'm like, now I'm facing like, I don't know how I'm going to do this financially. But I had really good credit, and I had a good payment history. I had been responsible all these years, building up to this. And so I fought for the loan, and they approved me. And I didn't even know how I was going to make the first couple of payments. I didn't. And I prayed, I hoped that he would lift me, and immediately my sales went up that next week, and I made every payment since that day. Wow. And I had no business even thinking about trying to pay for that car. And I still believe that it was God. And there's multiple times in my business that I've done. That was just one example of a financial fear where that money has a hold on your heart. You have no way to get it, even if you could. Yeah. And you just keep trying. Like I tried everyone in the valley, and I just didn't. And then it just dawned on me. I was like, I didn't try that one. I didn't even know about it. And, it was like 50 minutes from Boulder City. So it didn't dawn on me like, oh, there's one over there. But again, with the, trying, just jumping off the cliff when God tells you to, and you're like, you're crazy, you shouldn't know. Like, but again, like what I learned with that, the other situation was, if you don't fight it and you don't resist it, like he does move mountains, he does bring miracles. And so I felt every inch of my soul, and I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. And again, he did lead me to the promised land. He did pull me up. He did lift me up. And I can't tell you how many times this has happened in my business in the past couple of years, but multiple times when I was faced with fear and praying on it, and he would bring a sign, he would bring something that would tell me, do this, do that decision. And I'm like, okay. And again, I'm thinking, this is crazy. I can't even afford this. Yeah. But we're going to do it. And like I said, every time he's caught me. So I think that was awesome that you pointed that out, because people, again, with the testing of God or trusting, that's a scary move. And I think that if people really just try to take that chance and put the faith in Christ to catch them, that more people will be surprised. And it almost, when you're not speaking that, when that language is new to you, it's very foreign. Yeah. And you're like, no way am I going to do that. No way. Yeah. But it's like I don't know. It really works. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a crazy testimony. All the comments. Alyssa, Sarah really is a light in so many lives. She's a great inspiration. Yeah. That's your cousin, you said?
Yeah, that's my
Okay.
cousin.
Nice.
She's my best friend too.
Oh. Well, we definitely appreciate you coming here and sharing that with us. We should have had her bring some food.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Dang, I didn't even think about that.
Taste test. That's
Just
how you get
hungry right
customers
now.
right there.
Yeah.
Free samples like Costco.
Yeah.
I never think of these things.
You cook all the food?
No, I don't anymore. Now I
okay.
have employees, but I did used to. Yes.
When did you stop cooking everything and have to finally get employees?
When I finally stopped working as a chef, probably like 7 or 8 months ago. And I've been
Okay.
open for 2.5 years.
Wow.
Little by little, though, I was like weaving out, but I would train one position and then I would train another. You know, at first I started with one person because we started at home. We didn't have jobs during COVID. So my friend was helping me. And so we already had it split up into 2 positions.
Yeah.
But then when I became a real company, it was like, oh, now I need to add a 3rd position. But I had been running kitchens I was working in the service industry for 10 years, 12 years. And so I already knew what to do. So, you know, actually when I worked 10 years at a restaurant and the trainer, the owner made me the trainer of the restaurant. So by the time I left, I had trained every employee on the floor. So I already like had a business model of like how to plug people here, who needs to be on that section, who needs to be on poultry, who needs to be on steak, who's on vegetables, who's on dishes right now, what time do we turn? Like, so I already had that mentality to be with dominoes and here we go. Like it's a video game to me. That's why I became the trainer. That's why I did it as a manager, because I can juggle it really easy. Like, you know, it's fun to me. And so I was like, okay. So I started training, and each person I kept training and hiring out. And, you know, I got up to the point of 10 employees at one point. Now I have 8. You know, we're a little slower in the winter, but in summertime I have to up my staff again. So, you know, but yes, everybody has their own position. And so each time I gave a new position, I now scooted to another position because I was also adding to the menu. So every step that I made, I was adding another job, another list, another thing. And so everybody was like, check mark, completed that mountain, next. And then I put myself through a whole nother rodeo of struggles and challenges. And I'm like, why do I keep doing this? So, but you know, I get so motivated and I get so like on this streak, and everything I do, I'm like, I'm like all in or I'm all out. There's no middle or in between. And when I'm all in, it's like psychotic mode. Like I'm like crazy about it. I'm so passionate and there's no stopping me. And I have tunnel vision. I am a visionary. I can just see where I want to go. And so every check mark, everything I do, it's like, what's next? What do I need to add to the list now? And, you know, my list is never empty because I keep filling it back up. And, you know, and sometimes I'm like, I got to calm down, but I just can't because I'm on a mission. I want to help people and I cannot stop that drive and passion. And it is every bit of my soul and it's every bit of my healing. And I'm so feel so strongly about it that it's like, you know,
But you have to take time to rest too, because
that's a hard
I used to
part.
do that where I would work, you know, the studio all day. I'd go out and do Lyft and Uber all night till like 5 or 6 in the morning, and then have to be back at the studio. So I'd get like 2 or 3 hours here, 2 or 3 hours there of sleep. And, you know, once I started working 5 days, making sure like, no, I need to take 2 days off a week, I started making more money.
Yeah, I have
Because
had
I
to do
wasn't
that
burnt
too.
out. And, you know, I was getting so burnt
And
out
I injured
by
myself
just working,
too.
working. And, you know, thinking like, I just got to make this money. It's like, no, you need rest. Like, that's even biblical. Like, you need to rest. You're no good if you're tearing up your body by not getting sleep.
Yep.
That's why I hate that statement, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like, you're going to die quicker if you don't sleep now.
Right.
You know, sleep is sleep's just as important as eating, right? Drinking water. You know what I'm saying? Like, all that stuff is what we need to survive. So,
that's hard. The balance. I struggle with that too. And I have to discipline myself because when I don't, I just crash. And then I have like 3 days, I'm dead to the world.
Yeah.
I'm not going to answer. Like, I just burn myself out. But yes, I have done that
burnout's not
multiple
good at all.
times.
Yeah.
And that is a hard lesson when you are so driven and on this path that you feel is your mission and your journey and your purpose. And, you know, it's very hard to slow down. And, you know, that is something I actually, I've had health issues from it. I've been lectured by the doctor because my cortisol and adrenals are through the roof, and I'm not sleeping now because my stress is so high. You know, I crashed my thyroid. You know, I'm like, seriously? But it is like, it's hardcore. I crashed my thyroid twice in the 2.5 years since I started this business, and that is the biggest. that is the hardest part. But, you know, and now I'm so much better at the practicing. I have my days off set now. I have my days where, you know, I have times that I don't respond or answer, or, you know, and I have to shut the phone down. I have it balanced now, which is so helpful. And my body, you know, is responding to the medication again. It's like I'm back on track, doing much better. But yeah, that is the hardest part, is balancing, especially just like I said, when you're on this mission. It's like, I mean, it's like when you're watching the movies and they're in a war battle. Like, I feel like I'm on a battlefield. I don't know. My therapist told me that I would probably feel that way for the rest of my life. That I will always feel like I'm in a battlefield, and I will probably die trying to help everyone else and save everyone. But in the end, that's what saves me. So it's like there's a light to the end of the tunnel, but I'm always chasing it.
And I don't think you always have to feel like you're in a battlefield either. You know what I'm saying? Like, helping people is one thing, but you know, God has to be the one fighting for you too. You know, so.
Yeah, that's a new outlook.
Yeah, and you can't always believe what therapists say, even though he was like a really good friend, because he also did what he did. So it's like he wasn't all there. But man, I encourage everybody in the room, everybody watching online, like, make sure you get into the Word daily. And we've been talking about this on the show too, man. Like, the first thing you should do is get into the Word, get into worship. You know, I talk about it all the time, man. Like. Renew your mind daily. How are you going to do that if you're not like getting into the Word and really seeking God out? And for those of you that might be watching that don't know God, like, you know, I encourage you to find good people around that could help you develop that relationship. Pray. Like Sarah said, test God if you don't believe He's real.
We all have a hurting person in our lives.
And get in the Word and you know, doing that. And just any other way that you have to test God to show that He's real. He will show Himself real because it is real. And like I said, with the things going on in this world right now, you know, the wars in Israel and just all this fighting and everything happened politically out here as well. We need God more than ever, and we need to seek Him you know, like never before. So just want to encourage everybody, get in the Word. Anybody have a word of the day? Scripture you got on your mind?
I mean, listening to what she was talking about, like, I have one. It was like, I think it's 2 Corinthians, like 1-4. It's like, blessed be God, even the Father, our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercy and the God of all comfort, who comforts us.
Read that a little slower. What's the address?
The address is 2 Corinthians 1-3-4. And as I was listening to, you know, her testimony, I kept seeing this. So it's like, blessed be God, even the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercy and the God of all comfort, who comforteth us in all our tribulations, that we may be able to comfort those who are in trouble by the comfort wherewith we ourselves are comforted by God. So
wow,
when we go through things, like, you know, we go through tribulations, it just feels like the worst thing in the world. When we go through things and we go through tribulations, it feels like the worst thing in the world in the moment, right? But during this whole process, God has us in His hands, but we're tripping, right? Because we're going through it. But then when we come out on the other side, we're like, dang, that's not that bad. But how much did you get from the pressure? Like, even when you go to the gym, it takes pressure to get stronger, right?
Yeah.
So you went through the process, even through your process of, you know, your journey of weight loss. You went through that process. Now you can help us, or you can help somebody else who's big and they can't even see, like, there's no way I can get back down to that size. But you're like, no, you can do it, because I did it. I went through, you know, like you said, the withdrawals of you know, when you're changing a diet. Like, I went through that whole process, changing my diet. I was like, man, I don't want it.
Sugar withdrawals are real.
Oh yeah, it is real. You crash, you go through all kinds of stuff. I was
crying.
Yeah.
I literally cried myself to sleep multiple times over sugar.
Yeah.
Like, it's no joke.
But since you went through that, you can make, hey, nah, that's regular. You cried? Yeah, I cried crocodile tears too. So I understand. But God comforted you through that. But during that process that you went through, you're able to comfort others. So tribulation is actually good at a time. Or you could even see, like, what stuck out to me about your story too is being obedient. Like I think we talked about that last week about like, dang, not telling somebody about God is kind of like murder. Like whopping if you didn't talk to that guy.
Yeah.
Now you guys have like this dope best friend. Like you got a new best friend, but now you got a new family, right?
Yeah.
Whopping if you didn't listen to that voice. And the first time he was like, whatever. You just let it go. Like, okay, maybe this isn't God. But you went the second time was like, hey, are you all right? And he's like, you know what? There is something wrong with me. And then it was something that was in his heart. He called you that night. And then now you guys have this cool friendship. You got a new family, but you saved the whole family before you even got saved. That was dope to me.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
And I didn't even believe it was going to happen.
Yeah.
That was the crazier part. And it is really cool now too, because my son, we're actually going to be, we were just talking about that we're going to be celebrating a decade of friendship soon. And, that's so cool that my son has had that male role model in his life, and he got to watch somebody get clean before him, knowing that his father is down that track,
it was very important.
I think that it was also a blessing for my son to see someone be okay and to love them and to pray for them. And we pray for his father all the time, and we talk about him, and he wants to talk about it sometimes, and he knows, we will be here for him when he wants to get help, and when he's ready, we're ready for him. But he has to want it. He has to make the move. And, so I think it's so good for my son to see that too with them and the whole family. And I think part of it gives him hope.
He sees the hope,
you
for
know?
sure.
Yeah, it gives him hope. But it also yes, I think again too with the realization it is a choice and they have to want it. They have to be ready for it. And it's been very good.
That's good.
It's been very good.
Well,
for
listen,
all
we
of us.
went way over time today. Can you guys come back next week and do some songs?
Yeah. And I'll be well
Bring
prepared.
some performance tracks.
I got you, man.
This dude's singing lower than his track. I'm gonna work with PJ this week. We're gonna work with you.
Yeah, work with me. Cause I'm
Staying
getting out
centered
there
in
now.
the cameras.
Yeah, right. Says, hey, you need to put a tape there so I could just I'm just kidding. No, I'm good.
Just need to stay centered.
It's
you
on
need
the
to be able to look.
screen.
You need to be able to look in the screen and see
there
you're
for me.
there. He was like this.
I see it. I'm over here chilling.
like,
I'm over
he's
here
like
off the
this.
screen, my head going because I'm
He's
so
like,
deep.
yeah, I'm here.
He got
I'm deep in
excited.
the
He
conversation.
got
Like I'm
excited and
sitting
moved
on
the mic back.
Yeah, he's like, and then it's like,
Yeah. He's left, he's right, he's back.
Yeah. See, you even seen that.
Yeah. You're everywhere.
Well, listen, man, I
It's a
had a
high
lot of fun
energy.
tonight.
It is.
I think this was a really good episode. Shout out to T Strike and shout out to
Yes.
Sarah. Where can they follow you, Sarah, real quick?
You can follow me on Facebook or Instagram under Real Prep Meal Prep, REALPREPMEALPREP. I'm on both of those. I have TikTok. I have the whole thing.
Yeah.
Also, I have Serotonin Athletics. Whatever you're interested in, I've got all those pages.
Yeah. And makeup. That's makeup too.
I do. I have a makeup page too. So if you find one of them, you'll find all three.
Yeah. Say Real Prep, Meal Prep 3 times.
Real prep, meal prep.
No, you don't have to say it fast. Just
Real prep, meal prep. Real prep, meal prep. Real prep, meal prep. I'm a rapper.
all right.
Yeah, I was just
DJ.
gonna say. Wait a
I'm a
second. You
rapper.
sound like you've been rapping.
Yeah, I do. Bars.
Real prep, meal prep, real prep, meal prep, real prep, meal prep.
It's about the pause.
solid.
Dr.
job.
Seuss. I read
It
a
is
lot of
about
Dr.
the pause.
Seuss
You gotta
books
have
in
the
my
pause.
life.
You got to breathe a little
Yeah.
bit right
Yeah.
there. Real
Yeah.
prep, meal prep.
It is funny though to watch people. I have some people that'll be saying it all kinds of ways, but I when I came up with the name, I wanted it to be a tongue twister because I was trying to think of a name and I'm like Real Deal Meal Prep because it's gimmick free. I'm like that just doesn't sound. That's too I don't know. You can't. So I came up with Real Prep Meal Prep, and it has the dashes and inside, so you're supposed to say it fast. It's supposed to be one word, so you got. So everybody when they try to read it, it's like you get all kinds of reactions, but it's hilarious. And people who they'll be doing me posts of my meals. I got this meal prep, and they'll say or Real Prep, real prep meals. And I'm like, what? And they'll send it to me. They're like, I messed up. Do you want me to fix it? I'm like, no, I'm posting it
That's
now
funny.
because I love that you messed it up. That was on purpose. you know.
so funny.
Jeff said it sounds like it's time to make a jingle.
Oh,
I mean, we got some artists in
Hey,
here,
I
you
can
know what I'm
do it.
saying?
I could do it.
Make a Real Prep, Meal Prep jingle.
Say it fast.
But it'll be Trill Prep. Meal
Trill
Prep.
prep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trill. All right, listen, man. If you guys can, please subscribe to our channel. We're here live every Tuesday. And follow me on at Unnamed Sports Show too if you care about sports. If you don't care about sports, don't watch. But if you care about sports, go to Gorilla Cross Sports YouTube channel and subscribe there. Also, We are live every Monday, 6 p.m. West Coast time, and every Thursday, 4 p.m. West Coast time, and then randomly throughout the week too if big things are happening. So make sure you check out everything we're doing. Follow me at Quan59. Where can I follow you?
Follow me at Kowp Does Damage. That's KOWP Does Damage on Instagram. KOWP Does Damage. I post all my fitness stuff, all my real life stuff. So yeah,
the whole journey's on there pretty much.
I was looking
you can
at it
scroll
earlier.
back.
Oh,
yeah,
dope.
I saw your fitness stuff. It was cool.
Appreciate it. Yeah. So you scroll back a little bit. The whole when I got out the hospital, all the rehab stuff is all on there too. So try to post as much encouraging captions and stuff as I could, just because you got to be in a mindset to get through some of that stuff. So I was just trying to share, what I was going through and how people could, relate in their own stuff. So that's gonna keep going. The fitness journey's not gonna stop. Who knows, man? Music might end up being a thing again. Quan keeps making me rap. He keeps making me freestyle, and then every once in a while he's like dropping tracks. I'm like, I guess I gotta rap. So
you gotta do it. You gotta do it. And PJ's whole journey is on his Instagram, or it's gonna be on his Instagram, from not knowing how to stay centered in the camera to staying centered in the camera. So watch his journey starting tonight.
Yeah, watch my journey. And, I'm going to start.
See how good he does in the next 3 months.
I'm ready to start. I'll be ready to start hosting seminars on being centered.
Being centered.
That's
in the
it. Be about being centered.
That's a bar.
You'll
That's
have
metaphorically centered.
Yeah, you'll have a very
as
good story on that.
I will. I'll have a dope testimony on it. Like
Where can they find you?
I am light _official.
All right.
I am light. I seen your page too. I kind of stalk this. I've been watching the podcast. I've been watching all you guys, and I'm a big cheerleader too. So you'll see. I'll be sharing you. You'll be like, who is this crazy girl? It's just me.
Cool.
I'm a cheerleader.
We share back too, so we
share back.
We
will.
Yeah.
All right, I need to eat. I got to get my meal prep from my fridge.
Yeah, I got a game.
I think I got Roberto's in there still.
That's a good prep. They prep.
I got a
really well.
macro balanced burrito waiting for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, tune in next week, folks. Appreciate you tuning in. Peace.